Chapter 161 Miraculous Fire Sparrow. The sky and land were teeming with flying great demons. Some stood at the edge of the cliffs, while others spread their enormous wings and took to the air from the cliffside. Yi-chun glanced at the scene and noticed that on the 85th peak, even the smallest great demon was over 60 meters tall, with wings unfurled that measured more than 100 meters in length. Others were even larger, with wings spread to a staggering 170 or 80 meters, with individual feathers dwarfing Yi-chun himself. All of these were mid-tier great demons. The strength of these great demons was comparable to a mid-stage Spirit Sea Realm powerhouse. Even many cultivators of the Spirit Sea Realm would not dare to set foot here easily, but Yi-chun had now directly entered the midst of these mid-tier great demons. Just as Yi-chun stepped onto the 85th peak and into this mountain of demon beasts, the great demons spread across the skies discovered the sudden appearance of Yi-chun. To be called great demons, their intelligence was on par with humans, and they were exceedingly astute. Seeing Yi-chun barge in, no fewer than 10 great demons instantly shot towards him in attack, while the others also flapped their wings and roared loudly. Yi-chun had similarly been attacked by demon beasts and great demons on the previous 84 floating peaks, so when faced with the onrush of 10+ great demons, he was not the least bit flustered. His body surged with Gang Yuan True Qi, which enveloped him completely. The roiling Gang Yuan True Qi even shot up over 100 meters high, and with the silver wind thunder wings unfurling behind him, he took to the middle of the sky. Although Yi-chun's stature was incomparable to that of these great demons, standing in the void with over 100 meters of surging silver Gang Yuan True Qi swirling around him made those great demons halt their attack mid-assault. These highly intelligent great demons clearly realized that Yi-chun was not an easy target. The great demons that stopped their assault merely stared at Yi-chun, watching his every move, but no longer taking the initiative to attack first. If Yi-chun did not strike at them, they certainly would not provoke this human who seemed difficult to deal with. As expected, the higher the climb, the greater the intelligence of the great demons. Seeing that the flying great demons no longer attacked him, Yi-chun gave a faint smile. With a move of his figure, he began to fly around the 85th peak, sizing up the various great demons. An 80-meter-tall, brownish-yellow giant eagle, a snow-white feather sculptor over 90 meters tall. This giant oriole is even more extraordinary, with wings spread that are at least 170 meters long. Under the watchful gaze of countless great demons, Yi-chun evaluated them all but ultimately shook his head. Having come to the 85th peak, he still had not found the great demon he wanted to capture. While traveling from the sect's main gate square to Sky Extreme Cliff on the flying boat, Fairy Jialuo had once told Yi-chun and the others that this trial of capturing flying beasts not only tested the candidate's combat capabilities but also offered a bonus. The captured flying beasts could be used as mounts for those candidates in the future. Fairy Jialuo's words did not make much of an impact on the other youths. They were still concerned with the difficulty of climbing the sky-scaling vine and the dangers of capturing flying beasts, hardly minding what kind of flying beast they captured or whether the mount was powerful or not. After all, the more powerful the mount, the harder it is to capture, and the more dangerous the capture process. But upon hearing Fairy Jialuo's words, Yi-chun had made up his mind that, in addition to accomplishing the goal of capturing a great demon, he certainly wanted to seize one that he was satisfied with to serve as his mount. Even though Yi-chun had cultivated the wind thunder wings and was capable of Qi riding flight, this method of flying through true Qi skills still did not match the divine powers of Spirit Sea Realm powerhouses who could soar through the skies and traverse the earth with ease. Initially, when Yi-chun traveled from Qingyang City to Taishan Sect, it took him 2 whole days of flight and considerably drained his true Qi. Now that he had the opportunity to capture great demons which could even serve as mounts, Yi-chun would certainly not miss out. Capturing a powerful great demon would save him a lot of true Qi expended in flight, so upon hearing Fairy Jialuo's words, he had already resolved to catch a great demon that he himself was satisfied with to serve as a mount. That was why he climbed unhurriedly upwards, carefully evaluating each layer's flying beasts. Unfortunately, up until the 85th peak, Yi-chun still had not found a great demon that met his satisfaction. 99 floating peaks, the higher up, the stronger the great demons. Based on my observations of the peaks below, I fear the most powerful high-tier great demons are all within the top 11 floating peaks. High-ranking great demons, with my current strength, it would be somewhat difficult to capture one. And if I were to encounter a group attack from several high-ranking great demons, it could be life-threatening. The higher I climb, the more careful I need to be. There isn't much time left in the 1-hour examination period. I should climb a few more floating peaks. If I can't find a suitable great demon, I'll have to subdue a mid-ranking great demon to complete the assessment. Having made up his mind, Yi Chen's figure flashed as he flew onto a sky-scaling vine and then left the 85th peak, continuing to ascend. The 85th floating peak. It's still not Yi Chen's target. Which floating peak is he planning to go to? Could it be that he wants to step into the territory of high-ranking great demons? Seeing Yi Chen continue to climb upward, many of the onlookers outside the assessment area couldn't help but exclaim in surprise. Amidst their exclamations of surprise, Yi Chen entered the 86th floating peak. Strange. As soon as he stepped onto the 86th floating peak, Yi Chen felt very strange. It was too quiet, and he couldn't see a single trace of any flying beasts. Climbing up from below, Yi Chen had long noticed that the higher he went, the more numerous and powerful the demon beasts were. He had never seen a floating peak without a single demon beast. Baffled, Yi Chen flew while covering the 86th floating peak with his divine sense to observe, only to find that after flying over thousands of meters in the area, he didn't see a single great demon. Shaking his head, Yi Chen continued to fly upward. As a result, the 87th floating peak was also devoid of any great demons. This caused Yi Chen to let out an involuntary murmur of surprise. There were more than 100 great demons gathered on the 85th peak, but there's not even a single one on the 86th and 87th peaks. Why aren't those great demons living on the 86th and 87th peaks? Amidst his confusion, Yi Chen officially entered the 88th floating peak. As soon as he stepped on the 88th floating peak, it was still quiet, but Yi Chen felt an extremely hot breath rushing towards him. It's worth noting that Yi Chen's protective true qi was already extremely powerful at this point. So for him to feel an exceptionally hot breath means it must have been terrifyingly intense. When Yi Chen operated his divine sense and flew around, sizing up the 88th floating peak, he suddenly stopped in his tracks. After passing 2 peaks devoid of great demons, Yi Chen finally saw a great demon again, but on the vast 88th floating peak, he could only see one great demon. It was a great demon that captured Yi Chen's gaze so entirely that he could not look away. This great demon was incredibly awe-inspiring. It was a giant fire sparrow measuring over 80 meters in length. With its wings folded, its wingspan was unknown, but each and every one of its feathers shone a fiery red without a single speck of any other color, as beautiful as blazing flames. At that moment, the fiery red fire sparrow was fast asleep, surrounded by swirls of fiery red light, emitting an exceedingly hot breath. Obviously, the breath Yi Chen had previously sensed was emanating from this marvelous fire sparrow. In the middle of this giant fire sparrow's forehead, there was a black flame-shaped mark, making the entirely red body of the giant fire sparrow appear inexplicably wondrous. From the aura swirling around the giant fire sparrow's body, Yi Chen could tell that this was an incredibly awe-inspiring mid-ranking great demon. Upon seeing it, Yi Chen knew that the object he wanted to capture as his mount had finally appeared. Chapter 162. Sudden Change. Let's capture it. A mid-level great demon, the mystical fire sparrow. Having set his sights on the target, Yi Chen spread his wind and thunder wings behind him and tread through the air, walking towards the giant fire sparrow that was fast asleep. With each step he took, he traversed 7 to 8 meters through the void, and after 3 or 4 steps, the distance between him and the slumbering fire sparrow was just over 20 meters. As he moved, Gang Yuan true qi burst forth wildly from within Yi Chen's body, instantly forming a 100-meter-high towering protective true qi aura around him. Facing the giant fire sparrow that dominated the entire 88th floating peak. Although he sensed that it was only a mid-level great demon, Yi Chen wasn't the least bit careless. Whether it was the mystical feeling the fire sparrow gave him, or its ability to reign over other mid-level great demons, Yi Chun knew that capturing this fire sparrow wouldn't be simple. Just as Yi Chun came within 10 meters of the giant fire sparrow, the clusters of fiery red light around the sleeping bird suddenly burst forth. At the same time, the slumbering fire sparrow suddenly awoke, as if sensing something, and opened its eyes to look straight at Yi Chun. When it saw the figure of Yi Chun approaching, the giant fire sparrow let out a clear cry and began to flit its wings, preparing to take off. As the giant fire sparrow fully spread its wings and soared into the sky, Yi Chun's eyes lit up. What a beautiful fire sparrow! The giant fire sparrow, with wings unfurled, was an impressive 130 meters long, each individual feather resembling a blazing fire, making it look like a giant cluster of flames in flight, and its crystal-clear eyes emitted a mystical glow. Together with the black flame pattern on its forehead, it looked even more majestic than when it was asleep. The more he looked at the giant fire sparrow, the more Yi Chun liked it, his impulse to capture this mystical bird and make it his mount growing uncontrollable. Come, beautiful fire sparrow, from now on be my mount and follow me on journeys across the whole barbaric wilderness continent. Yi Chun walked towards the giant fire sparrow with a faint smile. Chirp! The giant fire sparrow, as a mid-level great demon beast, had intelligence almost akin to humans. Although it was not yet at the level of the demon kings in the rotating pill realm, who could speak the human language, it clearly understood Yi Chun's words. Hearing Yi Chun's intention of making it a mount, the feathers on the fire sparrow's forehead stood on end, clearly showing its extreme annoyance. After a piercing cry, it burst into flight, flapping its enormous wings as it swooped down to attack Yi Chun. Watching the mystical fire sparrow angrily charging at him, Yi Chun merely smiled and countercharged towards the bird. To tame this fire sparrow as his mount, he needed to subdue it first. Only with overwhelming strength could he make the fire sparrow willingly accept him as its master. Boom! In the sky, on one side was Yi Chun with his silvery Gang Yuan Tru Chi rising tumultuously over 100 meters high, and on the other was the mystical fire sparrow with wings stretched perhaps as long as 130 meters. A man and a beast locked in a fierce battle high among the clouds. It started. Yi Chun is finally starting to capture the great demon in the 88th floating peak. Good heavens! Such a majestic great demon beast, a giant fire sparrow. The beast Yi Chun is trying to capture is even more mystical than the white eagle that Yu Luoxian caught before. On the sect plaza, tens of thousands of sect disciples, eyes glued to the gigantic screen, burst into cheers when they saw Yi Chun finally commence his attempt at capturing a great demon. Yi Chun had made his move, and against such a majestic great demon at that, which sent the watching sect disciples into a frenzy of excitement. The 88th floating peak. Yi Chun has finally started to capture a great demon as well. The beast he is trying to capture must be a mid-level great demon. In the void within the secret area of Tianji Cliff, the prospective disciples who had completed their assessment, riding on flying demon beasts, were also bursting with excitement upon seeing the figure of Yi Chun finally entering into battle up in the sky. Meanwhile, Jiangyao, other Spirit Sea Realm disciples, and rotating Pill Realm powerhouses were intently focused on Yi Chun in the sky above, as well as the giant fire sparrow he was battling. Everyone's eyes were on Yi Chun and the giant fire sparrow, yet no one noticed that when Fairy Jialuo and Taoist Wine Sword saw the giant fire sparrow, their eyes simultaneously flashed with shock, and when they looked at Yi Chun again, concern was evident on their faces. Clearly, they had realized that something was amiss. In the sky above, on the 88th floating peak, Yi Chun, who fought fiercely with the giant fire sparrow, grew increasingly shocked as the battle raged on. Yi Chun's hard cultivation in the ancient god tower, coupled with over a month of training after leaving the tower, had made him strong enough to easily handle a mid-stage Spirit Sea Realm expert. However, in battling this mid-ranking great demon fire sparrow, he was utterly unable to overpower it. The more he fought, the more Yi Chun realized the formidable power of the fire sparrow. In the end, he couldn't help but resort to his truly powerful techniques. Whoosh! 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 The moment Yi Chun stopped holding back, hundreds of inverted swords of true chi appeared outside his body. These swords of true chi glinted with dazzling silver light, Indeed, they were condensed from Yi Chen's overwhelmingly strong Gang Yuan True Qi at the 11th level. At the same time, the swords of True Qi thrummed with an immense sword intent of slaughter. Faced with the powerfully strong Fire Sparrow, Yi Chen drew upon his strongest sword intent as well. Boom! Once the swords of True Qi were formed, Yi Chen charged with the several hundred swords of True Qi directly at the giant Fire Sparrow, his intent solely to subdue it in one fell swoop. Slaughter sword intent. It is indeed the second-tier sword intent. This kid Yi Chen, he has truly grasped the second-tier sword intent. Taoist Wine's sword, who was watching the battle from below, his eyes brightened upon seeing the swords of True Qi cascading from Yi Chen. Although Yi Chen's newly revealed technique was a pleasant surprise, the trace of worry in Taoist Wine's sword's eyes had not vanished. Just as Yi Chen charged fiercely toward the giant Fire Sparrow with hundreds of swords of True Qi filled with slaughter intent, the Fire Sparrow in the sky seemed to realize the severity of Yi Chen's move. The giant Fire Sparrow suddenly spread its wings, burst into the sky, and in an instant, managed to evade Yi Chen's attack. At the same time, the erupting, miraculous Fire Sparrow let out an ear-piercing screech. This unbearably piercing screech reverberated in all directions. Upon hearing this screech, even Yi Chen's form shook violently, as the True Qi within his body started swirling uncontrollably. Moreover, something even more astonishing happened. As the screech echoed out, numerous flying demon beasts and great demons on the 99 floating peaks, upon hearing the screech, seemed to be terrified. They fled frantically from those peaks, adding their own frantic screams to the cacophony. The demon beasts and great demons that fled in panic were not only those from the peaks below, like the 66th floating peak, but even the great demons residing in the topmost 33 peaks were disturbed. All the great demons Yi Chen previously explored on the 85th floating peak hurriedly flew out in alarm, and even those in the higher peaks he hadn't explored, like the 98th and the 99th floating peaks, were so startled that they took off too. These high-ranking great demons were actually being frightened into flight by this mid-ranking great demon Fire Sparrow, sending them scattering in all directions. This completely astounded Yi Chen, who was witnessing the commotion on the peaks. Could it be that this mid-ranking great demon Fire Sparrow was even more formidable than the high-ranking ones? Instantly, Yi Chen recalled something. When he previously surveyed the 86th and the 87th floating peaks, not a single great demon seemed to inhabit those places. Could it be that, because of fear of the Fire Sparrow on the 88th floating peak, no great demon dared to inhabit the nearby peaks? Moreover, Yi Chen noticed that not only the 86th and the 87th floating peak, but even the high-ranking great demons from the highest peaks were frightened into flight, and there was no movement at all on the 89th and the 90th floating peaks above the 88th floating peak where the giant Fire Sparrow resided. Clearly, no great demon dared to tread on the 89th and the 90th floating peaks either. This giant Fire Sparrow was single-handedly dominating the 88th floating peak, ensuring that no great demon dared to step foot on the two peaks below it and the two peaks above it. It had startled high-ranking great demons into flight. What kind of flying demon beast was it? Just as Yi Chen was dumbstruck, the surging, screeching giant Fire Sparrow suddenly underwent a shocking, bizarre transformation. The extraordinary giant Fire Sparrow's forehead, patterned with black fire-like markings, suddenly lit up. As these black fiery markings brightened, in the blink of an eye, the Fire Sparrow's crimson feathers transformed into a deep blue color, the blue feathers resembling flames ablaze. The giant Fire Sparrow's feathers had instantly changed colors. Upon seeing the giant Fire Sparrow's feathers change color, Taoist Wine Sword and Fairy Jia Luo below, who were looking up at the battle in the sky, had their worried expressions finally give way to full-blown shock. Both rotating Pill Realm experts exclaimed in unison, "Black Inferno Sparrow? It's the Black Inferno Sparrow that has completed its mid-stage bloodline awakening." Chapter 163, Yi Chen Fights the Great Demon. The enormous Fire Sparrow burst into the sky, its piercing shrieks shaking all directions. Countless demon beasts and great demons, even the high-ranking great demons at the very top, were driven into a frenzy by the cry of the Fire Sparrow, howling and bellowing in the skies outside the 99 floating peaks. And the enormous Fire Sparrow, as it soared into the heavens, its feathers suddenly changed from flaming red to a brilliant blue flame. This shocking transformation had completely dumbfounded the disciples in the sect who were watching the final practical assessment through the giant light screen on the main square. The young examinees riding on flying demon beasts in the void of Sky Extreme Cliff were all gaping with their mouths wide open. Even at the very bottom of the 99 floating peaks, even though they were very far from the 88th floating peak, the screech of the enormous fire sparrow made their true chi royal and frightened their flying demon beasts into howling and roaring as well. They almost fell off their flying demon beasts. The simultaneous exclamations from Fairy Jialuo and Taoist Winesword had made their complexions suddenly change. They knew that if two rotating pill realm experts were exclaiming in shock, Yichun must have faced a great crisis. Dark Nether Sparrow, Master. What is a Dark Nether Sparrow? At that moment, Zhang Yao's face tensed with concern, and her long hair that hung down to her waist even began to flutter without her control. Her eyes turned to Fairy Jialuo, and she quickly spoke out, worried for Yi Chen's safety. The enormous fire sparrow that took to the sky frightened countless great demons into frantic flight, a phenomenon that made Zhang Yao sense something wrong. The simultaneous exclamations from her master, Fairy Jialuo, and Taoist Winesword made Zhang Yao's heart sink even more drastically. If Yichun truly faced danger, even if she wasn't allowed to intervene in the practical assessment, even if rotating pill realm experts tried to stop her, Zhang Yao would rush to his aid, disregarding everything to help Yichun fight that sparrow. She simply couldn't bear to watch Yichun facing danger right before her eyes. Watching her beloved disciple's delicate little face etched with worry, ready to fly up into the sky at any moment, Fairy Jialuo finally spoke. Yaoer, there are countless hidden bloodlines in the world. You yourself possess the bloodline secret skills. You should know that. Hearing of hidden bloodlines, Zhang Yao's heart raced with panic. She was well aware of the power of hidden bloodlines. She had a strange ice phoenix bloodline in her own body. Just after she had completed the first level of this ice phoenix bloodline secret skills, she was able to suppress early-stage spiritual sea experts with her true chi realm strength. Once she stepped into the spiritual sea, she could even dominate mid-stage spiritual sea experts. In the over 4 months since she had parted with Yichun, she had been in seclusion, finally completing the second level of the painfully understood Ice Phoenix bloodline secret skills after more than 3 years. This completion of training instantly boosted her strength by dozens of times, with gains even greater than when she first completed the first level of bloodline secret skills, endowing her with the power to dominate late-stage spiritual sea experts. Even after completing the second level of bloodline secret skills, Zhang Yao knew that there was a third and fourth level to her bloodline secret skills. The cultivation of the bloodline secret skills had tremendously increased Zhang Yao's strength, making her deeply aware of the fearsome nature of these skills. Now hearing that this Dark Nether Sparrow also had a hidden bloodline, of course Zhang Yao became deeply concerned, extremely worried about Yichun, who was facing the Dark Nether Sparrow in battle. Fairy Jialuo continued, the Dark Nether Sparrow is also a kind of sparrow that possesses a hidden bloodline. Though its bloodline is not considered very powerful compared to your bloodline secret skills, it is extremely formidable for a great demon. The Dark Nether Sparrow undergoes 3 bloodline awakenings in its life. The first, the initial awakening, turns all its feathers to a fiery red and makes it virtually invincible among middle-ranking great demons. The second, the intermediate awakening, turns its feathers a deep blue, and its strength soars to an invincible level among high-ranking great demons. The final awakening, the advanced awakening, will transform it into the Dark Nether Sparrow King, giving it strength comparable to an early-stage rotating pill realm expert, the power level of a demon king. I never expected that such a sparrow would come to our sect's Sky Extreme Cliff, and that it would encounter Yichun during this practical assessment. Earlier on, when the Dark Nether Sparrow was still red, I felt something amiss. Little did I know, it truly completed its intermediate bloodline awakening. Boom! The words of Fairy Jialuo caused Zhang Yao's mind to resound with an explosion. An intermediate bloodline awakening Dark Nether Sparrow would see its strength skyrocket to an invincible level among high-ranking great demons. This directly indicated that Yi Chun was up against the most formidable being among high-ranking great demons. High-ranking great demons are equivalent to late-stage spiritual sea experts, and Yi Chun was only at the 11th level of true Qi. No matter how formidable he was, facing this mutated dark nether sparrow, he was in extreme danger and his life hung by a thread. How could Zhang Yao let Yi Chun face such danger alone? Boom! Instantly, an ice-blue spiritual pattern appeared on Zhang Yao's forehead, and her waist-length hair began to grow wildly, reaching several meters in length and fluttering frantically. Master, I can't allow Yi Chun to face danger alone. Don't stop me. As Zhang Yao spoke, she flew upwards. Seeing Zhang Yao's actions, everyone looked at her in astonishment. Then, Fairy Jia Luo moved and intercepted Zhang Yao. Yaoer, the appearance of this dark nether sparrow is an accident in this practical assessment. I will not stand by and let Yi Chun be killed by the dark nether sparrow. But now is not the time for us to act. Look, Yi Chun is not fleeing, which means he has the strength to fight against the dark nether sparrow. If he truly faces danger, there's no need for you to act. I will save him myself and allow him to continue with the capture tests of other great demons. In the calm words of Fairy Jia Luo, there was an absolute confidence. Don't mention this dark nether sparrow having completed its mid-stage bloodline awakening. Even if it had completed its late-stage bloodline awakening and transformed into the dark nether sparrow king, it still wouldn't be a match for Fairy Jia Luo. Zhang Yao, you little girl, don't worry about that kid Yi Chun. Even if Jia Luo doesn't take action, I will. I don't care about the rules of your Tianxian sect. At this moment, the void shimmered, and Taoist Wine Sword suddenly appeared beside Zhang Yao. Taoist Wine Sword, a late-stage rotating pill realm powerhouse, was the strongest person present. The fact that he spoke out directly like this clearly showed how highly he valued Yi Chun. After finishing his speech, Taoist Wine Sword directly turned his gaze to the sky. I've always noticed that the kid Yi Chun is still holding back his strength, and I really want to see what he looks like when pushed to his strongest state. The words of Fairy Jia Luo and Taoist Wine Sword eased Zhang Yao's worried heart slightly. But the spiritual patterns flickering on her forehead and her hair, which was wildly growing longer behind her, did not dissipate at all. She remained ready to leap into action to assist Yi Chun at any moment. Yi Chun, you must not overexert yourself. With just the 11th layer of true Qi, it's already impressive that you can deal with middle-rank great demons. You must avoid any mishaps, and if an accident truly is about to occur, even if the Master and Elder Wine Sword don't take action, I will step in. Zhang Yao's eyes, filled with worry, were fixed on Yi Chun in the sky. Below, the movements of Zhang Yao, Fairy Jia Luo, and Taoist Wine Sword went unnoticed by Yi Chun. All his focus was on the colossal fire sparrow surging upwards. When Yi Chun saw that the fire sparrow's fiery red feathers all turned into deep blue flame feathers, and when he sensed the absolutely high-rank great demon-level terrifying aura emanating from the fire sparrow, his expression grew solemn. He knew that this capture of a great demon had brought him a true challenge. This mystical fire sparrow was extraordinary indeed, showing such a rare transformation. But Yi Chun wasn't scared into fleeing. Even with the fire sparrow's transformation to the strength of a high-rank great demon, he still had the ability to cope, to subdue this colossal fire sparrow. The more extraordinary it was, the more he had to find a way to subdue it, to capture it as his mount. A fierce will to fight was lit in Yi Chun's eyes. Instead of retreating, his 11 gang yuan true qi swirls in his body all vibrated simultaneously, and he surged towards the sky, where the transforming colossal fire sparrow, with vast and surging gang yuan true qi flames, was flying. As Yi Chun charged, the fire sparrow in the sky had completed its transformation, its eyes suddenly bursting out with astonishing brilliance. With a clear call, the fire sparrow no longer soared upwards but turned around, setting its gaze on Yi Chun. When it saw Yi Chun charging towards it, the colossal fire sparrow shot out blue flames from every feather on its body, which glowed like blue fire. In an instant, a raging blue flame sea unfurled around the fire sparrow's entire body. The colossal fire sparrow, surrounded by the roaring blue flame sea, dived down from the sky, aiming a ferocious strike toward Yi-chan, who was surging up to meet it. In the sky, the enormous fire sparrow's blue flame sea collided with Yi-chan, accompanied by his outbursting silver gang Yuan True Chi. Blue flames and silver True Chi instantly enveloped the entire sky. Boom! 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 Thunderous True Chi explosion noises echoed through all 99 peaks of Sky Extreme Cliff, once again causing countless demon beasts lurking at a distance to scatter in frantic flight. In the midst of this thunderous collision, Yi-chen's figure was slammed backwards hundreds of feet, even spitting out a mouthful of blood in the sky. Yi-chan! Jiang Yao cried out in panic from below. Just as she was about to fly upwards, she suddenly caught sight of Yi-chan, who was blown back, abruptly stopping in midair, his eyes half closed, fingers forming a strange spell. Then, Jiang Yao, Fairy Jialuo, Taoist Wine Sword, and countless other spectators witnessed a shocking transformation occurring with Yi-chan. Boom! 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 In an instant, Yi-chan, suspended in the air, suddenly emitted endless golden light from his body. Amidst this boundless golden light, 100-meter-tall golden monkey phantom suddenly appeared around Yi-chan. After it appeared, the golden monkey phantom roared towards the sky, a roar that was by no means weaker than the fire sparrow's previous sharp cries. Amidst the golden monkey phantom's skyward roar, Yi-chen's momentum continued to climb until silver Gang Yuan True Chi swirled around him, intertwined with strands of mystical golden light. Am I finally going to use the third transformation of my newly comprehended 9-transformation fighting body? Yi-chan, hovering in the void, suddenly opened his eyes wide and calmly spoke, gazing at the colossal fire sparrow not far away. Chapter 164. The sky collapses and the earth cracks. Yi-chen's astonishing transformation and surging momentum alerted the giant fire sparrow that something was amiss. Chirp! The fire sparrow's glistening eyes fixed on the enormous golden monkey shadow above Yi-chan for an instant before it let out a piercing scream and charged at Yi-chan once more. Buzz! With a light flap of its wings, endless azure flames poured out of each feather. Then, the fire sparrow suddenly tightened its wings, carrying an unmatched flame that burned across dozens of yards, and, with the force of a devastating impact, harshly collided with Yi-chan again. After the fire sparrow's transformation, its strength exploded to that of a high-level demon beast. The gusts it whipped up blew away the air it touched, creating earth-shattering explosions. The fiery waves ignited by its wings turned the explosive gusts into nothingness. The entire fire sparrow seemed like a fearsome flame dozens of meters long that could split the sky. Unstoppable. Still using that move? Let's see if you can still knock me flying and make me spit blood. Seeing the giant fire sparrow attack him again, Yi-chan, suspended in the void, had a wild desire to fight shining in his eyes. He didn't dodge or avoid, but instead charged headlong into the oncoming fire sparrow. With a beat of his silver-colored wind and thunder wings, Yi-chan, carrying the boundless Gang Yuan True Chi mixed with strands of divine golden light and the towering golden monkey phantom, faced the fire sparrow like a ferocious beast from the heavens. During his fierce charge, Yi-chan himself even left a long trail of silver Gang Yuan True Chi in the void. The fire sparrow shrieked, its fiery feathers burning as it lunged madly. Yi-chan, likewise filled with crazed battle intent, met the attack head-on. The two terrifying forces caused the observing youths far below to draw back unconsciously, and the rotating Pill Realm experts to watch with sparkling eyes, unblinking at the madness of both parties. Moments later, these two earth-shattering forces collided violently. Boom! 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 The explosive sounds of true chi reverberated through heaven and earth, and the blast wave instantly surged in all directions from the point of impact. Even the powerful demon beasts watching from the skies were flipped over. At the same time, the explosion of boundless azure flames and silver Gang Yuan True Chi emitted a blinding light. The radiance was like the sun bursting forth, so bright that people couldn't keep their eyes open. After the blinding light flashed, everyone saw two figures being flung dozens of yards away. Indeed, both Yi Chun and the giant fire sparrow were sent flying backward in this clash, with Yi Chun, after his incredible transformation, not at a disadvantage and not giving any ground in the direct collision with the transformed fire sparrow. Unlike human martial artists who cultivate true chi techniques, demon beasts rely on their physical strength to fight. The dark nether sparrow, after its fiery red feathers turned azure, had an unimaginable brute force. But in this head-on confrontation with Yi Chun, the dark nether sparrow did not gain any advantage. This sight had all the sect disciples watching from the Mountain Gate Plaza and the young assessors below Sky Extreme Cliff shouting excitedly. Yi Chun could actually fight the transformed fire sparrow on equal footing. As everyone cheered, the fire sparrow, as if refusing to admit defeat, rocketed up dozens of meters and, with towering azure flames, charged at Yi Chun for the third time. Even the soft fluff under its fiery feathers was emitting fierce flames. Come on, let's settle this. Yi Chun too had already launched himself forward, hurtling towards the swooping fire sparrow. This time, the towering golden monkey phantom around Yi Chun burst into furious flames, and Yi Chun's momentum continued to soar. In the second transformation of the 9 transformation fighting body, the most powerful move was the fusion of the golden monkey phantom within, combining strength, while in the third transformation, it was the burning of the golden monkey phantom, combustion of strength. Combustion of strength was even more terrifying than combining strength. It would keep increasing during the relentless battle until the entire golden monkey phantom burned out completely, could even boost strength by 10 or 100 times. Although Yi Chun didn't have innate bloodlines like the giant fire sparrow, he cultivated the Jindi ancient clan's bone pattern secret transmission of the 9 transformation fighting body. A clan famous for its strength-based combat, the Jindi ancient clan was certainly not weaker than the dark nether sparrow in terms of strength. Having cultivated to the 3rd transformation of the 9 transformation fighting body, coupled with the formidable Gang Yuan True Chi, even if the dark nether sparrow transformed into a high-level demon beast in strength, Yi Chun dared to confront it head-on. Boom! 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 The two great powers collided for the 3rd time, and even after just separating, the fire sparrow's flames soared, and Yi Chun's golden monkey phantom burned, as they continuously clashed again. Such terrifying direct combat, like 2 ferocious beasts from the heavens fighting head-on, left all spectators with their mouths agape. Everyone saw that in the repeated clashes, the battlefield between the fire sparrow and Yi Chun was sometimes in the void of the sky, and sometimes atop floating peaks. With each clash, the massive shockwaves exploded in the sky, making it seem as if it was about to collapse. The enormous shockwaves landed on the floating peaks, causing them to crack and tumble, sending rocks flying wildly. This was a battle of strength. This was a battle like the rending of heaven and earth. All the sect disciples watching the fight were completely stunned. No one had thought that in the true Chi realm level selection for true disciples, they would witness such a powerful battle, such a frenzied fight. Such a battle was feared to be on par with that of Spirit Sea realm late-stage powerhouses. Even Yu Luoxian, the prodigious young girl second only to Yi Chun in the selection for true disciples, had a look of disbelief. She finally understood Yi Chun's true strength. It was a strength she currently couldn't even come close to achieving. Powerful. Too powerful. Even if he can't ultimately subdue the fire sparrow, Yi Chun still deserves to be ranked first in this selection for true disciples. Countless true Chi realm youths, looking at Yi Chun battling the fire sparrow, not losing ground at all, showing no fear whatsoever, revealed a look of utmost admiration in their eyes. In the barbaric wilderness continent, martial arts reigned supreme. Yi Chun's formidable strength had already become the goal pursued by countless true Chi realm youths. At this selection event for true disciples, the earth-shattering scene of Yi Chun fighting the fire sparrow demon beast, they would never forget. In the void of Sky Extreme Cliff, watching one floating peak after another collapse and break apart in this earth-shattering battle, watching the sky being burnt by endless true Chi flames, Taoist Wine Sword, a late-stage rotating pill realm powerhouse, had a gleam in his eyes. He has cultivated sword intense to the 2nd level. Even his physical strength is so immense. This young man Yi Chun is truly a miracle genius, a real invincible master of the true Qi realm. At just the true Qi realm, he is already this strong. If he steps into the Spirit Sea realm, he could probably sweep through everyone in the Spirit Sea with ease. If he hadn't already participated in this supreme true inheritance contest, I would already be unable to restrain myself from taking him as my only personal disciple. At this moment, both Jiang Yao and Fairy Jia Luo wore looks of tremendous surprise. Previously, they had been worried about Yi Chen and were prepared to intervene and help him against the Dark Nether Sparrow. But to their astonishment, Yi Chen actually had the strength to face the Dark Nether Sparrow head-on. In the sky, the head-on confrontation between Yi Chen and the Fire Sparrow, from fighting in the sky to the earth, had already lasted for more than 40 clashes. Under the surging and immense true Qi bombardment from both parties, under their astonishing flames, the 99 floating peaks of Sky Extreme Cliff, especially the peaks at the very top, were in complete disarray. They were either covered with flying debris, bombarded with large craters, or some peaks had even collapsed by more than half. Above the floating peaks, there were combat scars tens of meters long everywhere. In their 49th clash, with a ferocious roar, Yi Chen's enormous golden monkey phantom fiercely burned and bellowed, and Yi Chen actually flipped over and mounted the back of the massive fire sparrow. Yi Chen began the true capture and taming of the massive fire sparrow. Chapter 165. Convincing. Chirp. Riding on Yi Chen's back, the colossal fire sparrow let out a piercing screech. As an extremely powerful presence among great demons, it possessed the innate pride of the Dark Nether Sparrow clan. It would drive away other great demons that came close. It had single-handedly taken over the 88th floating peak. Not even the demon beasts of the 4 surrounding peaks dared set foot there. Now, this little human youth had actually mounted its back, seeking to capture and subjugate it. How could the giant fire sparrow be willing? Amidst the ear-piercing screech, the entire back of the colossal fire sparrow, feathers and all, blazed with endless azure flames, seeking to burn Yi Chen upon its back to ashes. If I'm not afraid of a direct confrontation, why would I fear this flame? Mounted on the colossal fire sparrow's back and looking at the giant feathers, larger than his entire body, from which rose the endless azure flames, the silver Gang Yuan true Qi around Yi Chen furiously swirled, blocking all the flames. The flames ineffective, the giant fire sparrow screeched even more fiercely, rolling in an attempt to shake Yi Chen off. At this moment, Yi Chen, riding on the back of the great fire sparrow, grabbed fiercely with his hands, his massive Gang Yuan true Qi binding him tightly to the sparrow's back, like a feather that, regardless of how the fire sparrow shook, could not be cast off. Chirp! Chirp! Unable to burn or shake him off, the tiny human youth on its back had driven the colossal fire sparrow into a frenzy. In the midst of its shrill screeches, with Yi Chen on its back, it turned around and charged crazily towards the 89th floating peak. It wanted to crush Yi Chen against it. Boom! The collision shattered a good half of the 89th floating peak. The shock of the impact not only made Yi Chen's breath surge, but even the fire sparrow itself bled from the blow. Yet the fire sparrow, heedless of its bleeding, continued to ram into the peaks over and over again. It seemed determined to shake Yi Chen off its back, even at the cost of injury. The massive fire sparrow had become truly frenzied. After completely demolishing the 89th floating peak, the screeching colossal fire sparrow charged towards the 90th floating peak. Boom! 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 In the endless collisions, even with the protection of Gang Yuan true Qi and his boundless strength surging, blood seeped from the corners of Yi Chen's mouth and body as he rode on the fire sparrow's back. But Yi Chen's eyes blazed with an unwavering conviction he would not be thrown off by this giant fire sparrow, no matter what. To truly subdue this flying great demon, it had to be utterly dominated, made to willingly become his mount. Blood seeped from the corners of Yi Chen's mouth and body, and countless drops of blood also emerged from the feathers of the colossal fire sparrow. After demolishing the 90th floating peak as well, both Yi Chen and the colossal fire sparrow were covered in bloodstains. This terrifying sight had everyone watching with bated breath. They had not expected the colossal fire sparrow to refuse to submit under such circumstances, displaying such astonishing pride. Nor had they anticipated Yi Chen's willpower to be even more steadfast than that of the colossal fire sparrow. Regardless of the fire sparrow's frenzied ramming, he remained on its back, as steady as a boulder, not budging in the slightest. It was clear that the two were engaged in a true contest of wills, and whether or not Yi Chen would successfully capture the colossal fire sparrow was about to be determined. After demolishing 7 floating peaks in succession, the blood-stained colossal fire sparrow, failing to shake off Yi Chen, suddenly dove into the midst of the myriad of flying demon beasts and great demons watching from afar, with a series of piercing screeches. It was trying to drag Yi Chen into the chaotic fray of great demons. Seeing the colossal fire sparrow dive towards them, the myriad demon beasts and great demons panicked and began to fly around crazily. The entire sky became completely obscured by the wings of great demons. Boom! 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 With its talons sharp as hooks, the colossal fire sparrow grabbed a 12th-tier flying demon beast and, with a single tear, ripped the 80-meter-long creature to shreds. Amid the carnage, countless demon beasts and great demons howled. Dozens of great demons, bloodied by the colossal fire sparrow's attacks, charged towards it and towards Yi Chen on its back. Swish! 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 At that moment, Yi Chen's hands tightly clutched the colossal fire sparrow, and simultaneously, hundreds of Sword of True Qi blades formed around him. These swords of true Qi were shrouded in a murderous intent. Any demon beast or great demon that attacked was either slain or wounded by them. In the end, amidst the rain of blood and flesh, Yi Chen and the colossal fire sparrow burst into the throng of demon beasts and great demons. They slaughtered over 20 demon beasts and severely wounded more than a dozen great demons. The remaining demon beasts and great demons, terrified by the fire sparrow and Yi Chen, dared not stay in the sky any longer and fled into the distance with cries of alarm. After diving into the swarm and still being unable to deal with Yi Chen, the chaotic fire sparrow, its eyes sharp as lightning, locked onto those below on the flying demon beasts and the rotating pill realm powerhouses standing in the void. It charged towards these people regardless of the consequences. The earlier spectacle of the colossal fire sparrow tearing apart the demon beasts and great demons had completely stunned the disciples below and the demon beasts they rode on. Now, seeing the colossal fire sparrow having killed myriad flying demon beasts before attacking them, many of the disciples screamed in terror. Humph! But at that moment, Taoist Wine Sword gave a cold snort. He picked up the large wine gourd behind him and took a swig, then opened his mouth to spray, and the mouthful of wine flew out, forming a huge barrier hundreds of yards in diameter that enveloped all the spectators within it. Just as the huge light screen formed, the gigantic fire sparrow, carrying Yi Chen, struck in front of the crowd. Boom! In an instant, the gigantic fire sparrow collided with the huge barrier. Even floating peak, which could be shattered by an impact, did not cause this barrier any harm. When the fire sparrow collided with it, it was repelled and flew backward, its majestic head feeling somewhat dizzy. It finally realized that below were even more formidable and daunting people. The tumbling fire sparrow once again charged towards the sky. Many thanks, Taoist Wine Sword, for your intervention. Taoist Wine Sword, truly a powerhouse in the later stage of the rotating pill realm, managed to stop the rampaging fire sparrow with just a gulp of wine, causing the disciples taking the exam to look at him in amazement. Fairy Jialuo, as the host of the exam, also smiled and addressed Taoist Wine Sword. Even if Taoist Wine Sword had not intervened, she would have acted, but she certainly appreciated his kind gesture. Taoist Wine Sword waved his hand at Fairy Jialuo with a smile. This dark nether sparrow has quite a determined nature, still not willing to submit in such a situation. However, the more a spirit pet initially refuses to submit, the more reliant it becomes on its master after acknowledging one. This lad Yi Chen, if he truly subdues this dark nether sparrow, he will indeed have a fine mount, Taoist Wine Sword said, continuing to look up into the sky. I fear this dark nether sparrow cannot escape Yi Chen's grasp, Fairy Jialuo said with a smile, then also looked up into the sky. While everyone watched in anticipation, The berserk fire sparrow once again soared through the sky. By then, it was completely at a loss with Yi Chun. It couldn't burn him with fire, couldn't shake him off, and even when it collided with floating peak, causing its own blood to surge, Yi Chun still didn't fall from its back. It plunged into the midst of the demon beast great demons, tore through a sky full of demon beasts, provoked numerous attacks from the great demons, and still couldn't do anything about the human youth. In the heart of the fire sparrow, there was a mix of admiration and anger towards this tiny human youth. The admiration was because it had never seen such a powerful youth before. The anger was because this youth insisted on making it his mount. The fire sparrow, being an intelligent great demon, didn't know what to do. Submit? Its pride still made it unwilling to submit just like that. At that moment, Yi Chun, who had been riding on the back of the fire sparrow whilst it rolled and collided furiously without moving an inch, finally made his move. Yi Chun knew that the will of the fire sparrow was at its weakest right now. The time to capture this fire sparrow was now. Boom! Just as the gigantic fire sparrow was at a loss with Yi Chun, screeching shrilly, Yi Chun, who was on its back, had the huge golden monkey phantom surrounding his body suddenly burst into flames. In an instant, all the golden monkey phantoms were consumed by fire, transforming into a source of power. This was the display of the full release of the third transformation of the 9 transformation fighting bodies combat power. Yi Chun, with all his golden monkey phantoms power burning, felt the golden monkey's spiritual patterns within the bones of his body emanating light. His hand, grasping the back of the gigantic fire sparrow, suddenly exploded with astonishing strength. This power, shining with golden light, passed through Yi Chun's palm and instantaneously spread to every part of the fire sparrow's body. In the end, every single blue feather on the fire sparrow glinted with the golden light. The power contained within the golden glow was something the fire sparrow could clearly sense, and it even felt like if it did not submit, the golden power would surge through its feathers and completely shatter its body. For the first time, this terrifying power caused the fire sparrow to tremble. The fire sparrow, which was close to a sentient being, knew that it could not contend with this small human youth anymore. It had no choice but to submit. The fire sparrow let out a low cry, and with its cries, all its blue feathers once again transformed into the fiery red ones it had before. It had withdrawn its bloodline ability, and at the same time it bowed its head. Submission. This signified that the proud and immense fire sparrow had finally admitted defeat and submitted, after the astonishing battle and intense suppression from Yi Chun. Hearing the low cry of the fire sparrow, Yi Chun on its back cracked a slight smile, shifted his form, and flew down to the front of the fire sparrow's head. He reached out to stroke the head of the gigantic fire sparrow. This time, the fire sparrow did not go berserk, nor did it attack Yi Chun. It opened its bright eyes, earnestly sizing up the youth in front of it who turned out to be even more powerful than itself. Chapter 166. Huge Change in the Spirit Ranking. The scene unfolding in the sky left everyone watching outside the arena utterly shocked. The majestic fire sparrow, with its wings unfolded to a staggering length of over 130 meters, its feathers resembling flames, lowered its proud head before a tiny human boy, who was not even as tall as one of its feathers. This image struck deeply into the hearts of all onlookers. Then, screams and cheers swept across the entire Mountain Gate Plaza and the viewing area below Sky Extreme Cliff in an instant. My God! He did it! Yi Chun really did it! This formidable great demon, a huge fire sparrow with the strength of a high-ranking great demon, was actually subdued by Yi Chun. Incredible. It's just too incredible. Could it be that Yi Chun's strength is now comparable to a late-stage Spirit Sea Realm expert? And he's only 15 years old, at the 11th level of True Chi. In the first round at the strength-testing Giant Rock, Yi Chun activated all the strength patterns and completely shattered the rock. In the second round with the Purple Lightning Pearl Speed of Movement Technique Assessment, Yi Chun once again created the miracle of being hit only 15 times. In the third and fourth rounds of the practical examination, his performance was still so exceptional, still surpassing everyone else. climbing to the 88th floating peak and subduing the high-ranking Great Demon Fire Sparrow. In this selection for true disciples, Yi Chun has utterly created a miracle, surpassing even Yu Luoxian, who was the most favored to win. Yi Chun is the undisputed number one. The entire Mountain Gate Plaza, with tens of thousands of spectators. Whether they were disciples of the Taishan sect in the true Qi realm or disciples from other sects, were all cheering and screaming wildly. The true disciple competition they witnessed was simply too thrilling. Yi Chen's performance throughout the 4 rounds of assessment echoed continuously in their minds. Especially the scene where Yi Chen spread his wings to rescue the falling boy and his last battle with the Great Demon Fire Sparrow were deeply ingrained in their minds. Unforgettable for a long time. The disciples in the Mountain Gate Plaza, watching the practical examination through the giant light screen, were extremely excited and screaming incessantly, not to mention those below Sky Extreme Cliff who witnessed Yi Chen's performance firsthand. Looking at the traces of the great battle still lingering in the sky, at the peaks of the floating peaks that had been shattered and collapsed, and seeing the huge fire sparrow lowering its head in front of Yi Chen, all the young competitors knew the Taishan sect had acquired an extraordinary youth. This Yi Chen, who had exceptionally participated in the selection for true disciples, definitely had the strength to become a part of the Grand Taishan sect. Yi Chen. Seeing Yi Chen subduing the huge fire sparrow, Jiang Yao could no longer hold back. Her figure moved, and she flew towards Yi Chen. Yi Chen looked at the beautiful girl flying towards him, then at the great demon fire sparrow by his side, and finally, he raised his head to look at the entire Taishan sect. The 4 rounds of assessments, with his successful capture of the huge fire sparrow, had finally come to an end. The selection for true disciples had finally concluded. He could finally enter the 6th-rank Great Taishan sect and become one of its true disciples. He had at last fulfilled the agreement he made with Fairy Jialuo in Taishan. When Yi Chen, accompanied by Jiang Yao and the huge fire sparrow, descended from the sky, the entire area of Sky Extreme Cliff erupted into fervor. All the people crowded around Yi Chen. Amid the crowd, Fairy Jialuo said with a smile, "The assessment for Yi Chen is over, and so is the assessment for everyone else. Now, let's announce the results of all 4 rounds of the assessment." Whoosh! Fairy Jialuo's finger lightly tapped. A giant light screen emerged, displaying the final assessment scores for all the young competitors. Among the more than 900 competitors, Yi Chen, with his shattering of the strength-testing giant rock, being hit only 15 times by the purple lightning pearl, climbing to the 88th floating peak, and subduing the high-ranking Great Demon Fire Sparrow, had performed the best in all 4 rounds, amassing a total assessment score of 11,165 points, firmly seated in first place. The selection for true disciples has concluded after all 4 rounds. Yi Chen, with a total assessment score of 11,165 points, ranked first. Yu Luoxian, with a total assessment score of 3,997 points, ranked second. Mu Yunlei, with a total assessment score of 2,838 points, ranked third. And then there's He Lang in 4th place, Shun Quan in 5th. As Fairy Jialuo activated the giant light screen at Sky Extreme Cliff, a similar giant light screen at the Mountain Gate Plaza also displayed the scores for all the competitors. Everyone looked up at the cumulative assessment results after the conclusion of all 4 rounds. When they saw that Yi Chen's total assessment score was even higher than the combined scores of those ranked 2nd and 3rd, Yu Luoxian and Mu Yunlei, all the disciples who had been excited about Yi Chen's capture of the Great Demon Fire Sparrow began to cheer joyfully. They knew that, with the end of the Taishan sect's true disciple selection event, Yi Chen's name would certainly spread throughout the entire Taishan sect, the eastern domain of the Heavenly Wind Kingdom, and even the whole Heavenly Wind Kingdom, just as Jiang Yao did when she triumphed in the same event previously. The most secretive and powerful place in the Taishan sect is the Inner Peak, where true disciples and elders reside. In each inner peak there is a huge mountain wall. At the top of these walls, for big characters are written, True Transmission Rankings. Beneath the words True Transmission Rankings, a set of golden characters that change periodically is displayed. These characters are precisely 300 lines worth. This is the place that the true transmission disciples of the inner peak pay the most attention to. The Elite Disciple Rankings is the list that records the rankings of true transmission disciples, and only the names of the 300 most powerful true transmission disciples of the entire Taishan sect can be recorded on it. The rankings on the Elite Disciple Rankings are determined by true transmission points, which can be obtained by completing sect trials, sect tasks, or sect assessments. The more true transmission points one has, the stronger they are considered to be and the more resources they can obtain within the inner peaks of the Taishan sect. All true transmission disciples who enter the inner peak are constantly challenging the rankings of the Elite Disciple Rankings, ever striving to improve their strength. Just as the final results of the Taishan sect True Transmission Disciple Selection Competition were set, countless disciples who were meditating beneath the Elite Disciple Rankings board suddenly noticed the entire board begin to shine brightly. On the Elite Disciple Rankings, the rankings change frequently, and when they do, the golden characters only flutter and change. Unless someone newly enters the top 30 on the Elite Disciple Rankings, such a grand radiance would not occur. Upon seeing the grand radiance emerge from the Elite Disciple Rankings, all the true transmission disciples near the rankings board looked toward it in astonishment. The rankings are changing. Could it be that someone has newly entered the top 30? Which true transmission disciple has made a great breakthrough? Those who can enter the top 30 of the Elite Disciple Rankings are invariably the prominent figures of each peak, either possess immense strength in the late stages of the Spirit Sea realm, or are extraordinary talents capable of contending with the late stages of the Spirit Sea. Seeing such grand radiance on the Elite Disciple Rankings, everyone looked toward the line of characters highlighted by the light. When they saw that the line of characters in the 28th position read, Yi-Chun, True Transmission Points 11,865, all the true transmission disciples looked at each other in dismay.
Yi-Chun.
How come no one has ever seen this name on the Elite Disciple Rankings before? Has anyone ever heard of such a true transmission disciple in the Taishan sect? In the past, those who were able to enter the top 30 on the Elite Disciple Rankings were strong contenders who often lingered around the 40s and 50s, making a breakthrough and shooting into the top 30. Their names were well known among the true transmission disciples. It is quite rare for someone to enter the Elite Disciple Rankings and shoot into the top 30 immediately. Now, these sudden characters Yi-Chun had taken all the true transmissions by surprise. Could it be this is a new true transmission disciple who directly entered the top 30 on the Elite Disciple Rankings? While all true transmission disciples within the inner peak were astonished, lights of escape from various peaks flew in, and then a message spread throughout the inner peaks of the Taishan sect. The True Transmission Disciple Selection Competition had ended, and the first place was a young man named Yi-Chun. When they heard this news and looked back at the Elite Disciple Rankings, all true transmission disciples of the Taishan sect were completely dumbfounded. This Yi-Chun, was he the young man who has just finished the True Transmission Disciple Selection Competition? Just became a True Transmission Disciple? He just became a true transmission disciple and was able to enter the top 30 of the Elite Disciple Rankings? What kind of prodigy was this? You should know that those who monopolize the top 30 of the Elite Disciple Rankings are none other than true transmission disciples who have practiced arduously for many years, with a majority being in the later stages of the Spirit Sea realm. Those who participate in the True Transmission Disciple Selection Competition are all disciples of the True Chi realm. How could they possibly enter the top 30 of the rankings? No one could believe it. At this moment, a true transmission disciple murmured, "In the True Transmission Disciple Selection Competition, the final assessment score can indeed be converted into true transmission points, allowing new true transmission disciples to enter the inner peak to exchange for cultivation resources." Could it be that this Yi-Chun has earned more than 10,000 assessment score points in the True Transmission Disciple Selection Competition? How is that possible? Even in the previous dozens of competitions, the assessment score points obtained for first place were only around 4,000 or 5,000 at most. Even when Sister Jiang Yao from Snowdrift Peak won the competition with her amazing talent and set the record for the highest assessment score points, it was only over 7,000 points. How could Yi-Chun possibly have obtained more than 10,000 assessment score points? All true transmission disciples couldn't believe it. Yet, as more messages continuously arrived at the inner peak, the incredulous True Transmission disciples suddenly heard news that Yi-chan, the first-place winner of the True Transmission Disciple Selection Competition, even dominated a high-ranking Great Demon in the final practical assessment and directly earned 10,000 assessment score points. This news left all True Transmissions under the Elite Disciple rankings speechless for a long time. They looked at the Elite Disciple rankings again. As Yi-chan's name entered into the Elite Disciple rankings, claiming the 28th spot, he pushed down the ranking of everyone below him by one. At the very top, third in the rankings on the Elite Disciple rankings was none other than Zhang Yao, who was only 17 years old, still in the early stages of the Spirit Sea Realm. And in the first position was a name called Jin Liang. And next to Jin Liang's name were the four astonishing words, half-step rotating pill. Yi-chan had no idea about the changes in the Elite Disciple rankings of the inner peak. At that moment, he was completely surrounded by various rotating pill realm powerhouses. Apart from Fairy Jia Luo, the other peak masters began introducing their inner peaks to Yi-chan. Since Yi-chan won first place in the True Transmission Disciple Selection Competition and earned the right to independently choose his training peak, these inner peak masters naturally wanted to attract this unprecedented genius to their own peak. While all the peak masters were promising Yi-chan various cultivation resources, he turned to look at Zhang Yao, and then at Fairy Jia Luo, and said with a smile, "I would like to join Snowdrift Peak." Chapter 167. Invitation from Taoist Wine Sword. Snowdrift Peak. Haha, Yi-chan, you don't know about the rules of Snowdrift Peak, do you? Snowdrift Peak isn't suitable for you. Yi-chan's words made all the peak masters burst into laughter. The rules of Snowdrift Peak? Not suitable for me? Yi-chan was somewhat bewildered by the laughter of these peak masters. Yi-chan, you might not know this, but Snowdrift Peak is the only one among the 8 inner peaks of the Taishan sect that accepts only female disciples and never male disciples. Even if you're very impressive, you Luoxian can join Snowdrift Peak, but you cannot. One of the peak masters said to Yi-chan. Only female disciples? Yi-chan glanced at Fairy Jia Luo and Zhang Yao. Fairy Jia Luo was looking at him with a calm, gentle smile, while Zhang Yao gave Yi-chan a slight nod. From Zhang Yao's expression, it seemed that Snowdrift Peak indeed had a rule of only accepting female disciples. Yi-chan had joined the Taishan sect with the hope of cultivating alongside Zhang Yao. The rules of Snowdrift Peak meant that he, unfortunately, could not join Snowdrift Peak. Yi-chan reluctantly turned to look at the other 7 peak masters. Seeing the look in Yi-chan's eyes, all 7 peak masters' faces brightened, ready to persuade Yi-chan to join them, when suddenly Fairy Jia Luo, who had been smiling quietly all this time, suddenly spoke. Fellow brothers, no need to rush. Indeed, Snowdrift Peak has never accepted male disciples in the past. However, now, facing a genius like Yi-chan, how could I possibly miss out? The words of Fairy Jia Luo stunned the other 7 peak masters. All hearts skipped a beat. Was Jia Luo planning to snatch Yi-chan too? Then, Fairy Jia Luo said to Yi-chan with a smile, Yi-chan, your performance this time far exceeded my initial expectations. As a special reward, I agree to let you join my Snowdrift Peak. Really, master? Before Yi-chan could speak, Zhang Yao's delicate face showed an expression of disbelief, which soon turned into great surprise. As a young girl, of course, she wished to cultivate on the same peak as Yi-chan, and now that her master was truly willing to make an exception for Yi-chan to join Snowdrift Peak, she was overjoyed. Of course, it's true. Fairy Jia Luo looked at her overjoyed disciple with affection before turning to Yi-chan. However, Yi-chan, if you join my Snowdrift Peak, you must bring honor to us. Although Snowdrift Peak has only had female disciples in the past, our strength is in no way inferior to other peaks. If you come, do not hold back Snowdrift Peak. Even though he knew Fairy Jia Luo was teasing him, Yi-chan still earnestly replied, Thank you, Elder Jia Luo, for making an exception to accept me. I will certainly bring honor to Snowdrift Peak. Yi-chan and Fairy Jia Luo, one wanting to join Snowdrift Peak and the other willing to accept, made the selection of the number 1 place in the True Disciple Selection Tournament a foregone conclusion. The other peak masters, having had Yi Chun snatched away by Jia Luo's interjection, could only smile wryly and shake their heads before turning their attention to the other young practitioners. The top 10 of the True Disciple Selection Tournament were able to choose their cultivating peak. After Yi Chun chose Snowdrift Peak, it was time for the others to make their choices. As expected, just as Yu Luoxian said before, she too chose Snowdrift Peak. The third place, Mu Yunlei, chose to join Jinyang Peak. The others also made their choices among the cultivating peaks. Once the top 10 had finished choosing their inner peaks, it was time for the peak masters to pick the disciples they liked. In the end, the 8 peak masters selected among the 900 or so participating youths. Some chose 14 or 15 individuals, while others, like Snowdrift Peak, chose 7 or 8. Altogether, the 8 inner peaks, with the top 10 included, took in just over 90 new true disciples. Aside from these 90-plus new true disciples, the other participating youths had no choice but to continue their cultivation in the outer sect. They would only get another chance to enter an inner peak if they broke through to the Spirit Sea realm. After all the true disciples had made their choices, Fairy Jialuo brought out the rewards for the top 10. Ultimately, those ranked 5th to 10th each received a lower-grade quintessence seed, those from 2nd to 4th each received a mid-grade quintessence seed, and Yi Chun was awarded a top-grade quintessence seed. Yi Chun looked at the tiny green seed, the size of a malt kernel, inside an exquisite little box. This was a top-grade quintessence seed, capable of boosting the success rate of a true Qi realm disciple's breakthrough to the Spirit Sea realm by 50%. Yi Chun, already in possession of an even more miraculous creation pellet, did not intend to use this less reliable top-grade quintessence seed. He decided to keep the seed, which would drive countless true Qi realm disciples to frenzy. As the true disciple selection and reward distribution came to an end, the Taishan sect's triennial true disciple selection tournament was finally over. The disqualified practitioner candidates were escorted out of Sky Extreme Cliff, returning to the outer sect. The giant screen on the square also gradually dissipated, and all the sect disciples who had come to watch the tournament slowly left the square. But everyone who left was still talking about this true disciple selection tournament, still discussing Yi Chen's miraculous performance. As those rotating Pill Realm powerhouses from the external sect and their Spirit Sea Realm disciples were leaving one after another, Taoist Winesword, who had yet to depart, suddenly approached Yi Chun. He looked at Yi Chun, smiling and said, "Young Yi Chun, you've performed remarkably well. You've really amazed this old man." Elder Winesword. Yi Chun looked at Taoist Winesword, who had come up to him, not knowing why this powerful late-stage rotating Pill Realm expert suddenly approached him. Fairy Jialuo and the other rotating Pill Realm powerhouses also turned their gaze to Taoist Winesword. At that moment, Taoist Winesword took his wine gourd and sword from his back into his hands, took a big swig of wine, let out a satisfied sigh, and then holding the sword in his hand, he looked at Yi Chun. "My Taoist name is Wine Sword. Wine dispels my sorrows, and my sword cuts through my worries. You must have realized by now that I am a sword cultivator." Yi Chun nodded. Zhang Yao had already told him earlier that Taoist Winesword's mastery of swordsmanship was incomparably fierce. This time I came to the Taishan sect, partly to compare sword techniques with Jialuo, and partly to take the opportunity to see if there are any promising talents in the sect. Taoist Winesword looked at Fairy Jialuo, then turned to Yi Chun. "Yi Chun, in 8 months' time, it will be the day of the Spirit Sea Realm sword fighting tournament. Are you willing to participate in the Spirit Sea Realm sword fighting tournament?" The Spirit Sea Realm sword fighting tournament. The words of Taoist Winesword sent a shock through Yi Chen's heart. Back in the Thousand Lotus Cave abode, when he and Zhang Yao were climbing 10,000 Swords Mountain, he had heard of the sword-fighting tournament at the 10,000 Sword Steel left by Heavenly Saint Lian Yu and Heavenly Saint Qian Ji. Yi Chun knew that the sword-fighting tournament was a grand event for sword cultivators. Divided according to the True Qi realm, it was separated into 4 major tournaments: the True Qi realm, the Spirit Sea realm, the Rotating Pill realm, and the Heavenly Saint realm sword-fighting tournaments. At the time, Yi Chun thought that if he had the chance, he must go to see the sword-fighting tournament. But he didn't expect that now Taoist Winesword would directly ask him if he wanted to participate in the Spirit Sea realm sword-fighting tournament. "Willing," Of course Yi Chun was willing, although he cultivated not only his sword skills but other martial techniques as well. He placed great emphasis on the cultivation of the swordsmanship. He had been eager to witness the martial skills and cultivation methods of other sword cultivators. He would certainly not miss the opportunity of the sword-fighting tournament. Elder Winesword, I am of course willing to participate in the sword-fighting tournament. However, are there any requirements to participate in this tournament? Yichen asked Taoist Winesword. At this moment, Fairy Jialuo also looked towards Taoist Winesword. Winesword, are you one of the organizers of this Spirit Sea Realm sword-fighting tournament? Taoist Winesword smiled and nodded. Yes, besides those sword cultivators who have obtained the qualification to participate in the Spirit Sea Realm sword-fighting tournament from previous True Chi Realm tournaments, and have successfully stepped into the Spirit Sea Realm, I am also in charge of finding other suitable and powerful sword cultivators within the 13 countries of the South Sky to directly invite them to participate in the Spirit Sea Realm sword-fighting tournament. Speaking of this, Taoist Winesword looked towards Yi Chun. Yi Chun, I could see the fierceness of your sword intent during the true disciple selection earlier. You, at such a young age, have already cultivated to the second layer of sword intent, which already qualifies you to participate in the sword-fighting tournament. Although with your current mastery in swordsmanship, it would be relatively difficult for you to achieve a good result in the tournament based solely on your sword skills. However, it would still be good to go and gain some experience. I don't have any other requirements for you, but participants of the Spirit Sea Realm sword-fighting tournament must be in the Spirit Sea Realm. Although I've invited you, if you haven't stepped into the Spirit Sea Realm within 8 months, then this invitation will be void. How about it, young man? Do you have the confidence to step into the Spirit Sea Realm within 8 months? Taoist Winesword asked Yi Chun with a smile. Stepping into the Spirit Sea Realm within 8 months. Only by stepping into the Spirit Sea Realm would he be eligible to participate in the Spirit Sea Realm sword-fighting tournament. This was the only requirement Taoist Winesword had for Yi Chen's participation in the Spirit Sea Realm sword-fighting tournament. If it were anyone else, proclaiming with certainty that they could step into the Spirit Sea Realm from the 11th layer of the True Chi Realm within 8 months, very few would dare to say they had such confidence. But Yi Chun had absolute assurance that he would step into the Spirit Sea Realm within 8 months. He had the mystical enlightenment pill he had obtained from the secret realm in his ancestral lands, and there was no longer any obstacle to his entering the Spirit Sea Realm. The only thing left was his True Chi Realm, and with 8 months' time, Yi Chun was certain he could improve his True Chi Realm. Elder Winesword, I am confident. In 8 months, I will definitely be able to step into the Spirit Sea Realm and qualify for the sword dueling conference. Yi Chun stated with unwavering determination. Taoist Winesword nodded. He liked confident youths like Yi Chun. Good, since that is the case, I shall leave you with a sword invitation. With this invitation, on the day the sword dueling conference arrives, you can use it to enter and participate in the conference. As Taoist Winesword spoke, a sword-shaped letter appeared in his hand, which he handed to Yi Chun. Yi Chun saw the words, Spirit Sea Sword Dueling Conference, written on the invitation with spirited, dragon-like strokes. Taking the invitation, Yi Chun then looked at Taoist Winesword. Elder Winesword, could you please give me another sword invitation? Zhang Yao's sword cultivation is also very impressive. Wanting to participate in the sword dueling conference, Yi Chun naturally wished for Zhang Yao to join as well and did not hesitate to secure an invitation for her. Zhang Yao, standing nearby, suddenly heard Yi Chun securing a sword invitation for her, and her ears turned beet red with shyness. She understood Yi Chen's intentions all too well. Ha ha! Taoist Winesword glanced at Zhang Yao and then at Yi Chun. What a fine couple you two make! Since I am the host for this sword dueling conference for the 13 southern countries, I suppose I can do you this favor. All right then, young lady, I will also give you a sword invitation. Make sure to work hard and win a few more bouts at the conference. As Taoist Winesword spoke, he took out another sword invitation. Accepting the invitation, Zhang Yao smiled sweetly. Thank you, Elder Winesword. Being able to attend the sword dueling conference with Yi Chun filled the girl's heart with immense joy. Now, in your Taishan sect, There are quite a few formidable sword cultivators, not to mention Jialuo. I remember there's a girl with the surname Yu from Snowdrift Peak, who, in the last Spirit Sea Realm Sword Dueling Conference, nabbed one of the top 3 spots. Yichen, Jiangyao, you two have these 8 months to seek advice from other sword cultivators. I am looking forward to seeing your outstanding performance at the Sword Dueling Conference on Immeasurable Mountain in 8 months. After giving a few more words of advice, Taoist Winesword said goodbye to Fairy Jialuo and other rotating Pill Realm powerhouses with a laugh and left merrily. In Taishan Sect, after having witnessed a thrilling selection of true disciples and having issued 2 sword dueling conference invitations, Taoist Winesword left quite satisfied with his visit. Watching the departing Taoist Winesword, Yichen and Zhang Yao, holding their invitations, exchanged a glance and both revealed smiles on their faces. In 8 months, at the immeasurable mountain of the Great Chen Dynasty, they would definitely make a splash at the Spirit Sea Realm Sword Dueling Conference. All right, with all the matters settled, we should head back to the inner peak now. After Taoist Winesword had left, the only ones remaining were the newly selected true disciples and the powerhouses of the Taishan sect. Once Fairy Jialuo finished speaking, the peak masters swept their large sleeves and brought their new true disciples, flying towards the inner peak. Yichen, along with a few other girls, flew towards Snowdrift Peak in the light of Jialuo's teleportation. Chapter 168 Barbaric Wilderness Mountain and Sea Map. Previously, when Yichen arrived at Sky Extreme Cliff from the outer sect aboard the flying boat, he was already astonished by the scenery of the inner mountains of the Taishan sect. Now, within the escaping light of Fairy Jialuo, stepping into the true hidden inner peaks of the Taishan sect, accessible only to direct disciples and elders like the peak masters, Yichen was even more amazed by the grandeur of these inner peaks. These were majestic and massive mountain peaks, standing tall one after another between heaven and earth. The sea of clouds in the sky floated around the midsection of the mountains, making them appear as if they were mountains of the immortals. Countless immortal cranes flew between the mountain peaks and the clouds, sometimes alighting on the peaks, at other times diving into the clouds, with their calls echoing in all directions. Looking at these mountains, one could see the waterfalls cascading down 1,000 feet, the majestic palaces and pavilions standing tall, and the secluded cultivation cave abodes, surrounded by giant ancient trees with roots coiled like serpents and branches that thickly covered the skies, with exotic flowers and unusual herbs everywhere, their fragrance overflowing and the true chi of heaven and earth rich and unparalleled. From time to time, one could encounter direct disciples of the inner peak in the true chi realm riding huge flying magical beasts in and out of the mountains, or powerful individuals in the Spirit Sea realm or various peak elders clad in Taishan sect vestment robes flying through the sky. Looking closely at the mountain peaks, you could see floating bridges connecting them, with warriors meditating and voices discussing the arts of martial practice emanating from various places. This is the place where the Taishan sect's direct disciples live. This is the Taishan sect's inner peak. The inner peaks of the Taishan sect are divided into 8 major cultivation mountain peaks and 3 elder mountain peaks. The Snowdrift Peak governed by Fairy Jialuo is one of these 11 inner peaks and is located at the very depths. Snowdrift Peak, shaped like a proudly towering giant sword piercing into the heavens, is not only positioned at the deepest point, but is also the tallest among the 11 inner peaks. After Fairy Jialuo's escaping light descended, Yichen and the others already arrived at the midsection of Snowdrift Peak. Yichen stood in the middle of the mountain, looking up towards the peak, unable to see the top of Snowdrift Peak with a single glance, and looking around, he could faintly see courtyards scattered about the waist of the mountain. These courtyards were the residences of the direct disciples of Snowdrift Peak, while Fairy Jialuo lived at the very top in the Snowdrift residence. Behind Yichen, the large fire bird also descended, as did the other girls who had just joined Snowdrift Peak, such as Yu Luoxian, all curiously looking around them. Zhang Yao, at that moment, landed beside Yichen. Seeing him taking in Snowdrift Peak, she smiled lightly and said, "Yichen, from now on you will be cultivating at Snowdrift Peak." Inside Snowdrift Peak, apart from Master, there are many senior and junior sisters too. They are all very nice, and later I'll introduce you to them. When the senior and junior sisters find out how amazing you are, and that you've joined us at Snowdrift Peak. They will definitely be very happy too. Returning to Snowdrift Peak, Jiang Yao became even more joyous. This was where she had lived for many years, and now that Yi Chun had also come here, she was naturally delighted. Looking at the girl in front of him, wearing a light blue gown, lively and beautiful, and seeing that unstoppable joy deep within her eyes, Yi Chun felt warmth in his heart. Being able to cultivate alongside Jiang Yao, the weariness from the relentless assessments and selections that came before had already been swept away. Just as Yi Chun and the others had landed in the middle of Snowdrift Peak, numerous figures flew towards them from various parts of the mountain's waist. These figures descended and were all bright and beautiful girls, who turned out to be direct disciples who had joined Snowdrift Peak before. After these girls descended, they curiously looked over the newly entered disciples, and when they saw a youth like Yi Chun among the newcomers, they were particularly stunned. Our Snowdrift Peak has never accepted male disciples before. How come there is one this time? After looking over Yi Chun, the girls' gazes turned towards Fairy Jialuo and Jiang Yao. Peak Master, Sister Jiang Yao, Junior Sister Jiang Yao. The girls all surged towards Fairy Jialuo and Jiang Yao. Yi Chun had heard Jiang Yao say that there were quite a few direct disciples cultivating at Snowdrift Peak, but there were not many who were eventually taken as disciples by Fairy Jialuo. From these girls' address to Fairy Jialuo, it seemed they were still just cultivating direct disciples. Fairy Jialuo looked at the girls who came over, a slight smile on her lips. You all arrived just in time. Later, take the new disciples to their place of residence and help them settle in. Upon saying this, Fairy Jialuo also turned to look at Yi Chun and the batch of new direct disciples. Speaking aloud, the Taishan sect is the #1 great sect in the eastern domain of the Heavenly Wind Kingdom. Being able to pass the selection and become inner peak disciples demonstrates your remarkable talents. However, you must not become complacent. After entering Snowdrift Peak, you must cultivate diligently and continually enhance your strength. You should know, although our Taishan sect is a 6th grade sect and ranks first in the eastern domain of the Heavenly Wind Kingdom, there are as many as 9 other 6th grade sects within the entire kingdom. Above the 6th grade sects, in the northern domain of the Heavenly Wind Kingdom, there are even 3 more powerful 5th grade sects. Becoming a direct disciple means you will be competing with powerhouses from other great sections. Your current strength is still far from enough. As Fairy Jialuo instructed, Yi Chun and the others listened attentively. Fairy Jialuo continued, ascending to the Spirit Sea Realm is your most important task for the time being. Only by stepping into the Spirit Sea Realm will you begin to stand out among the various sects in the Heavenly Wind Kingdom, and only upon entering the Rotating Pill Realm could you be considered a significant power within the kingdom. Regarding some of the sect rules about inner peak direct disciples, as well as other explanations, there are books on these topics in the various dwellings. Once you have chosen a residence, take a good look at these books. There aren't many rules for cultivating at Snowdrift Peak. You only need to remember that within Taishan sect's inner peak, we conduct competitions among the disciples of the inner peaks and the direct disciples of the 8 great peaks. If you perform too poorly, I will expel you from Snowdrift Peak. All right, follow your senior sisters to find a courtyard residence. Your senior sisters will also tell you some things about being a direct disciple. Yi Chun, Yaoer, you two stay behind for a moment. After Fairy Jialuo said this, she made a slight gesture, and the senior disciples, who had flown down from halfway up the mountain, led people like you Luoxian away to seek their dwellings. As they left, the senior disciples couldn't help but glance at Yi Chun. The first place in the direct disciple selection conference this time is said to be named Yi Chun. Is this young man Yi Chun? Yi Chun has come to our Snowdrift Peak? Once they were further away, the junior girls could no longer hold back their surprise and began questioning the newly joined girls of Snowdrift Peak about Yi Chun, while Yu Luoxian and the others also spoke of Yi Chen's deeds to the senior disciples. Ah! He's that impressive. The gasps of astonishment from the girls came one after another when they heard about Yi Chen's marvelous performances at the direct disciple selection conference. Senior Jia Luo. Master. At this moment, Yichun and Zhang Yao walked up to Fairy Jialuo. Fairy Jialuo smiled at Yichun. Joining Snowdrift Peak, you no longer need to call me senior. Since you are not my direct disciple, just call me Peak Master. Yes, Peak Master, Yichun replied. Yichun, your strength has indeed surprised me. With your current abilities, not to mention within Taishan sect, but even compared to the geniuses of the major sects in the Heavenly Wind Kingdom, and even those from the 5-rank great sects, you won't fall short. Your vision should be like Yaour's, not only on the Heavenly Wind Kingdom, but also on the entire 13 southern nations of the barbaric wilderness, and even the entire barbaric wilderness continent. Competing with the geniuses of the whole continent is the direction you should be aiming for. As she spoke, Fairy Jialuo looked at Zhang Yao and smiled. When Yaour stepped into the Spirit Sea Realm, I gave her some notes and insights from my travels in the barbaric wilderness. Now, I will bestow upon you the same treasure, and this treasure is called Barbaric Wilderness Mountain and Sea Map. Barbaric Wilderness Mountain and Sea Map? Yichun looked towards Fairy Jialuo. At that moment, Fairy Jialuo's fair palm stretched out gently, and a jade book appeared in her hand. On the front of this jade book were the words, Barbaric Wilderness Mountain and Sea Map. These 5 simple words carried an indescribable aura, as if encompassing the entirety of the barbaric wilderness continent. Not just Yichun, even Zhang Yao couldn't help but look towards the jade book. Fairy Jialuo lightly touched the jade book with her finger, causing it to slowly open with a list of glowing characters emerging on it. 13 southern nations of the barbaric wilderness. 10 great demonic sects of the western wilderness. Ice Palace snow plains of the northern wilderness. Star extreme scatter islands of the eastern wilderness. The 3 great dynasties of the central wilderness. Sea of Chaos. Hidden ancient lands. Void cracks. Minor spirit god mountain. The mere sight of these directory entries made Yichun tremble with awe. Clearly, this barbaric wilderness mountain and sea map contained information about various aspects of the barbaric wilderness continent that he was completely unaware of. Chapter 169 Blood Feud. Fairy Jialuo gently tapped on the 13 southern nations of the barbaric wilderness section in the glowing character index. Whoosh! A vast painting appeared directly in the void. In this vast painting, there were undulating mountain ranges and surging rivers, documenting the situations of 13 nations. Yichun saw that the Heavenly Wind Kingdom was among these 13 nations, located in an eastern position. Fairy Jialuo, looking at the vast painting in the void, slowly said, Our Heavenly Wind Kingdom, in the entire south of the barbaric wilderness continent, together with the other 12 nations, are collectively known as the 13 southern nations. The strength of the nations on the barbaric wilderness continent is divided by the realms of the strong, particularly by the strength of the strongest in the major powers. Take sects for example. An 8th grade sect refers to a sect whose strongest member is in the spiritual sea realm. A 7th grade sect has its strongest member at the early stage of the rotating pill realm. Our Taishan sect is a 6th grade sect, with the strongest at the middle stage of the rotating pill realm, while a 5th grade sect's strongest member will be at the late stage of the rotating pill realm. As for 4th grade sects, they have overwhelmingly powerful early stage Heavenly Saint Realm experts. 3rd grade sects have mid-stage Heavenly Saint Realm experts. 2nd grade sects, they are absolutely the most powerful forces in the entire barbaric wilderness continent, with their strongest individuals being at the late stage of the Heavenly Saint Realm, the strongest realm across the entire continent. As for the rumored 1st grade sects, there are none in the entire barbaric wilderness continent, existing only in the supreme spirit realm known as the minor spirit realm in legends. The classification of the major powers, the differences between the 8th, 7th, and 6th grade sects, so that's how they are divided. The words of Fairy Jialuo enlightened Yichun a great deal. Yichun, the higher you go, the greater the gap in strength brought about by the difference in realms becomes, and while it's a miracle that you, in the true Qi realm, can challenge those in the spiritual Sea realm, once you enter the rotating pill realm after the spiritual Sea realm, you will realize that the gap between different levels of the rotating pill realm is countless times greater than that between the true Qi realm and the spiritual Sea realm. This is also why the spiritual Sea realm does not subdivide powers, while the three major stages of the rotating pill realm are divided into three different grades of power. As for the heavenly saint realm, the gap in strength between its three major stages is even wider. So much so that countless geniuses with extraordinary talent can spend an entire lifetime without being able to step from the early to mid-stage of the heavenly saint realm, let alone reaching the supremely powerful late stage of the heavenly saint realm. Having one person with the highest strength within a sect means having a large number of people a step lower in strength. In our Taishan sect, I am at the middle stage of the rotating pill realm, while the other peak masters and elders of the sect are at the initial stage of the rotating pill realm. So as a 6th grade sect, we are many times stronger than those 7th grade sects whose strongest members are at the initial stage of the rotating pill realm. And those 5th grade sects and 4th grade sects, their strength is even stronger than our Taishan sect. Yi-chun, next I will tell you about the various power divisions across the entire barbaric wilderness continent. Yaoer, you should also listen carefully. When you both venture out of the heavenly wind kingdom and explore the barbaric wilderness continent, all this information will be very important. Fairy Jia Luo said to Yi-chun and Zhang Yao. Yi-chun and Zhang Yao exchanged glances and both nodded, listening intently to Fairy Jia Luo's explanation. Among the 13 southern nations, the heavenly wind kingdom's strength is in a middle position, with a total of 10 6th grade sects and 3 5th grade sections. There are 3 nations stronger than us, and these 3 nations all have 4th grade sects. 4th grade sects, which are guarded by early-stage heavenly saint realm experts. Yi-chun and Zhang Yao were immediately shocked. They had not expected that among the other 12 nations not far from the heavenly wind kingdom, there would be heavenly saint realm experts. The heavenly saint realm could be said to be the top-tier existence in the entire barbaric wilderness continent. The 2 secret realms Yi-chun had previously entered, the Thousand Lotus Cave Abode and the Ancestral Land Secret Realm, were both related to heavenly saint realm experts. Just from the marvels of these 2 secret realms, Yi-chun understood the power of the heavenly saint realm experts, whether it was heavenly saint Chen Ji, heavenly saint Lian Yu, or heavenly saint Dikong who left behind the Ancestral Land Secret Realm. All filled Yi-chun with boundless admiration. Yi-chun had never truly seen a heavenly saint realm expert in person before. These 3 nations with heavenly saint realm experts are, respectively, our neighboring Heaven Departure Nation and the 2 great nations at the far west, the Heavenly Origin Country and the Sky Desert Country. In the barbaric wilderness continent, martial arts are revered, and the battles and bloodshed between various powers are incredibly brutal, especially when fighting for treasure lands, cultivation resources, newly discovered secret realms. The entire continent's landscape is constantly changing. The fact that our 13 southern nations can survive in the southern territory, and that you can cultivate peacefully within the sect, depends entirely on these 3 heavenly saint realm experts, relying solely on the power of these 3 4th grade sects. Because our 13 southern nations have an enemy force that has held a grudge for thousands of years, which is the 10 great demon sects of the Western Desolation. Fairy Jia Luo's words caused Yi-chun and Zhang Yao to feel a surge in their hearts. They had always thought that cultivating in the sect was peaceful and tranquil, but they never expected that the 13 southern nations would have blood feuds, that they would have such feuds with the 10 great demon sects of the Western Desolation. Whoosh! Fairy Jia Luo pointed at the 10 great demon sects of the Western Desolation on the barbaric wilderness mountain and sea map, and another huge painting appeared in the void. This was an even greater territory than the 13 southern nations, a vast expanse where the 10 demon sects were entrenched, occupying the entire western breadth of the barbaric wilderness continent. Fairy Jia Luo, staring at the giant map of the 10 great demon sects of the Western Desolation, also became extremely solemn. The reason the 10 great demon sects of the Western Desolation hold a grudge against our 13 southern nations is because, in ancient times, the entire territory of the 13 southern nations belonged to the demon sects. Boom! The entire 13 southern nations of the barbaric wilderness originally belonged to the domain of the 10 great demonic sects. Heavenly Wind Kingdom was also part of the territory under the 10 great demonic sects' rule. The secret history Fairy Jia Luo spoke of took both Yi-chun and Zhang Yao by surprise. Back then, originally the 10 great demonic sects were immensely powerful, dominating vast expanses of land in the southern and western regions of the barbaric wilderness continent, and throughout the continent, they were renowned. That was because the strongest among the 10 great demonic sects had reached the mid-stage of the heavenly saint realm, an unparalleled formidable figure. This unparalleled formidable figure, known as Red Moon Ancestor, was the founder of the 10 great demonic sects, and even his disciples were 10 early-stage heavenly saint realm powerhouses, who were the sect leaders of the 10 great demonic sects. Later, this Red Moon Ancestor provoked a peerless loose cultivator hidden on the barbaric wilderness continent. That peerless loose cultivator slew the Red Moon Ancestor, and even 8 of the 10 disciples of the Red Moon Ancestor died by the hand of that peerless loose cultivator, causing the strength of the entire 10 great demonic sects to plummet abruptly. That peerless loose cultivator even ousted the 10 great demonic sects from the Southern Territory, drawing a heavenly demon gorge that stretched thousands of miles across the void to serve as the boundary between the Southern Territory and the Western Desolate Territory, forbidding the 10 great demonic sects from setting foot in the Southern Territory ever again. Gradually, as other powers moved into Southern Territory, the 13 Southern nations were formed, along with the various major sects within these nations. The matter of that peerless loose cultivator and the Red Moon Ancestor mentioned by Fairy Jialuo completely stunned Yi Chun. Especially the peerless loose cultivator. Just hearing about his deeds filled Yi Chun with immense admiration. To single-handedly slay the Red Moon Ancestor, and even kill 8 early-stage heavenly saint realm powerhouses, moreover drawing a heavenly demon gorge thousands of miles long in the void as the boundary line, preventing the entire force of the 10 great demonic sects from taking a single step into the Southern Territory. Such strength was truly terrifying to the point of causing alarm. It wasn't just Yi Chun who was astonished by the prowess of the peerless loose cultivator. Jiang Yao, too, was taken aback. Even Fairy Jialuo showed a look of veneration when she spoke of the peerless loose cultivator. With such strength, the peerless loose cultivator completely subdued the 10 great demonic sects. Naturally, they wouldn't dare to step into Southern Territory and could only shrink back in the Western Desolate Territory. But this deterrence that had lasted for over 1,000 years began to slowly dissipate after the peerless loose cultivator ascended to the minor spirit realm. That peerless loose cultivator was alone. His punishment of the Red Moon Ancestor was purely a personal vendetta, and he left nothing for the 13 Southern nations. Once the peerless loose cultivator ascended to the minor spirit realm, the 10 great demonic sects grew increasingly impatient to reclaim the land of Southern Territory. The 10 great demonic sects desired to retake the territory of Southern Territory, while the powers that had entered Southern Territory had now inherited it for over 1,000 years, developing many generations of legacies, and naturally, they were even less willing to leave easily. Thus, a great war inevitably erupted. In the ensuing thousands of years, the 10 great demonic sects and the forces of Southern Territory fought countless battles, during which even heavenly saint realm powerhouses fell, while the numbers of fallen rotating pill realm powerhouses are too many to count, not to mention true Qi realm and spirit sea realm disciples. Through such battles, the blood feud between the 10 great demonic sects and the 13 Southern nations grew even deeper, even surpassing the blood feud from the days of the peerless loose cultivator. It was only in recent centuries, as new heavenly saint realm powerhouses emerged in the 13 Southern nations, and the overall strength reached a balance with the 10 great demonic sects, that the Great War has paused for a few hundred years. However, all cultivators from the 13 Southern nations and the 10 great demonic sects know that this balance is bound to break sooner or later, and the war between the two sides will continue to loom. Unless one side possesses absolute power over the other, such a millennia-spanning blood feud will never be so easily resolved. Having said this, Fairy Jialuo turned her gaze to Yi Chun and Jiang Yao. Yi Chun Yaoer, I tell you this to let you know that your cultivation career may be met with blood and violence at any time. What will you do if the 10 great demonic sects wage a great war against us, the 13 Southern nations, and your strength is not sufficient? Yi Chun, your father and mother are in Heavenly Wind Kingdom. Can you bear to watch them be killed by the 10 great demonic sects right at your doorstep?
No.
All of us who live in the 13 Southern nations cannot abandon our homes, our countries. So, Once the war breaks out, all martial artists will be drawn into it. Therefore, take advantage of this rare peace to strengthen yourself. You must work hard to improve your strength, to cultivate diligently. Only with absolute power can you face any volatility that arises. It's not just you two, even I am the same. If a great war truly breaks out, my life will also be in danger, and I am continuously cultivating without rest. All those in the 13 southern nations and the western desolate 10 great demonic sects who are aware of this secret blood feud probably feel the same as us, fearful of reprisal from the other side. A sword hanging over their heads, all striving to become stronger. This situation might instead make the war break out at any moment. So, we have to be well prepared for everything. Fairy Jialuo looked at Yichun and Zhang Yao, saying earnestly. Chapter 170U. Fairy Jialuo's words sent chills down both Yichun and Zhang Yao's spines. They both looked up simultaneously at the grand chart of the 10 great demon sects of the western wilderness in the void, memorizing each and every one of their names and power levels.
Fortrank sect Joyous Union sect. Fortrank sect Dry Bone Peak. Fortrank sect Bloodfiend Valley. Fifth rank sect Myriad Ghosts Cave. Fifth rank sect Defiant Demon sect.
These names, these forces, all held blood feuds with the 13 kingdoms of the Southern Territory. Yichun and Zhang Yao committed them deeply to memory. Just as Fairy Jialuo had said, if a war were to erupt, stemming from these blood feuds which had lasted for thousands of years, these forces would all be their opponents, and they naturally had to be highly vigilant. Even if war did not break out in the short term, such a potential threat still had to be seen as motivation to strengthen themselves. Only when they were powerful enough could they stand fearless before any threat and not worry about when it would suddenly emerge. Seeing Yichun and Zhang Yao's utterly serious expressions, Fairy Jialuo nodded. Yichun, Yaoer, the reason I remind you of the blood feud between the 10 great demon sects and our 13 kingdoms of the Southern Territory is because the two of you are the absolute geniuses of Snowdrift Peak. As absolute geniuses, you must look far ahead and consider all crises in your hearts. Let's leave the matter of the 10 great demon sects here. Just keep it in your minds and be careful. That will be enough. Next, I will tell you about the other forces on the barbaric wilderness continent. On the barbaric wilderness mountain and sea map, aside from these two great forces occupying the Southern Territory and the Western Wilderness, there were many other forces. Fairy Jialuo's finger pointed toward the illuminated directory labeled, the Central Region's 3 Great Dynasties. As Yichun and Zhang Yao glimpsed these 3 great dynasties, they became even more serious. Invited by Taoist Glass of Wine, they were to participate in the Spirit Sea Realm Sword Fighting Tournament in 8 months' time, which would be held in the Central Region's Great Qian Dynasty. They were not familiar with the Great Qian Dynasty, let alone the remaining 2 dynasties. When the grand charts of the territories of the 3 dynasties appeared in the void, Yichun and Zhang Yao saw that the territories of these 3 Central Region dynasties were even larger than the Southern Territory's 13 kingdoms and the Western Wilderness's 10 great demon sects combined. The Central Region's 3 great dynasties represent the oldest martial arts lineages on the barbaric wilderness continent. Inside each dynasty, there are countless sects with entwined power structures, struggles that are even more frequent and far more intense than those in the Western Wilderness and the Southern Territory. The 3 dynasties are the Great Qian Dynasty, Great Zhou Dynasty, and Great Xia Dynasty. These 3 great dynasties occupy the most vast and grand central territories of the barbaric wilderness continent and are veritable giants. Compared to them, the 13 kingdoms of the Southern Territory and the 10 great demon sects of the Western Wilderness are too far behind. It is only because these 3 great dynasties hold the 2 regions in contempt that the forces of the Western Wilderness and the Southern Territory have been able to survive. The forces that entered the Southern Territory's 13 kingdoms back in the day were splinters from these 3 great dynasties. All of the 3 great dynasties possess third-rank sects, and within the Great Xia dynasty, there's even a second-rank sect, the most powerful in the entire barbaric wilderness continent. However, that second-rank sect is hidden from the world and does not partake in the countless struggles between sects within the 3 dynasties. Fairy Jia Luo's discussion of the three great dynasties gave Yichun and Zhang Yao a deeper understanding of them. It turned out that these three dynasties were the true core and foundation of the barbaric wilderness continent. The Western Wilderness and the Southern Territory simply could not compare to the Central region's three great dynasties. In the three great dynasties, there existed third-rank sects with mid-heavenly saint realm experts and even second-rank sects with late-heavenly saint realm powerhouses. This information made Yichun and Zhang Yao even more eager for the Spirit Sea Realm Sword fighting tournament at Immeasurable Mountain in the Great Qin Dynasty, which was 8 months away. Having discussed the powers of the Southern Territory, Western Wilderness, and Central region of the barbaric wilderness continent, Fairy Jia Luo continued by telling Yichun about other territories. The Ice Palace Snowfield of the Northern Barbarian Wastelands, the Polar Star Archipelago of the Eastern Wilderness, and also the Sea of Chaos and ancient hidden lands. These were places that even Fairy Jia Luo had not trodden much. She had only gained a little insight into these territories by reading countless ancient texts within the three great dynasties. Unlike the obvious forces in the Southern Territory, Western Wilderness, and Central region, the Northern Barbarian Wastelands, the Eastern Wilderness, and the entire periphery of the Sea of Chaos were full of hidden solitary cultivators, secret races, and secret sects. Even in Fairy Jia Luo's view, these hidden forces and their concealed strengths could be more terrifying than those of the Central region's three great dynasties. It was said that the peerless solitary cultivator who had slain the Elder of the Crimson Moon and had driven the 10 great demon sects out of the Southern Territory had come from within the Polar Star Archipelago of the Eastern Wilderness. Hidden solitary cultivators did not stand proudly in the world like the large third and second-rank sects of the three great dynasties, but the powerful heavenly saint realm experts among these territories' secluded cultivators perhaps numbered more than anywhere else on the entire barbaric wilderness continent. There were even late heavenly saint realm strong experts dwelling within these hidden territories. The Heavenly Saint Realm Sword fighting tournament that Yichun knew of was to be held in the Sea God Palace within the Sea of Chaos. That Sea God Palace was an organization of solitary cultivators. According to Fairy Jia Luo's judgment, there must be late Heavenly Saint Realm solitary cultivators inside. Aside from these territories, the void above the entire barbaric wilderness continent was also filled with countless void rifts, which could lead to many other continents on par with the barbaric wilderness continent. Even the minor spirit divine mountain that led to the supreme spirit realm, Little Spirit World, was hidden deep beneath the surface of the barbaric wilderness continent. However, Yichun and Zhang Yao currently had no way to set foot in the Void Rift and Minor Spirit Divine Mountain. Such places could only be accessed by Heavenly Saint Realm powerhouses who had comprehended the laws of space. After Fairy Jia Luo had roughly explained the entire barbaric wilderness mountain and sea map to Yichun, he felt as if his entire world had been opened up. Previously, he had only been in the Heavenly Wind Kingdom within a small sect, and at most, he had entered secret realms left by Heavenly Saint Realm powerhouses twice. Now, he finally knew that beyond the Heavenly Wind Kingdom, there were even more vast territories such as the 13 countries of the Southern Territory, the 10 great demon sects of the Western Wilderness, and the 3 great dynasties of the Central region. He came to know that in the Ice Palace Snowfield in the northern part of the barbaric wilderness continent, the Polar Star Archipelago in the east, and the Sea of Chaos beyond the lands, there were countless forces and countless powerhouses. There was also the Void Rift. There was also the Minor Spirit Divine Mountain. This was the true barbaric wilderness continent, the true martial world. Yichun's vision was still too narrow, and his strength was far from sufficient in the whole barbaric wilderness continent. Not only Yichun, even Fairy Jia Luo knew very little about the entire barbaric wilderness continent, with most of her knowledge coming from ancient texts, and even with her mid-stage rotating pill realm strength, there were many regions she couldn't set foot in. With this barbaric wilderness mountain and sea map in hand, according to what Fairy Jia Luo said, it contained countless pieces of news and bizarre tales from ancient texts, all within this map that Yichun needed to examine in detail. But from this first look at the map's general layout, Yichun had already developed the ambition to travel throughout the entire barbaric wilderness continent. He made up his mind that one day he would traverse the entire barbaric wilderness continent and even venture into the Void Rift, stepping into the Minor Spirit Divine Mountain. Having roughly introduced the situation of the barbaric wilderness mountain and sea map, To Yichan and Zhang Yao, Fairy Jialuo then looked seriously at Yichan. Yichan, after coming to the great mysterious sect, your most important cultivation goal is to step into the spirit sea realm. At the same time, both you and Yaoer also need to prepare for the Spirit Sea Realm sword fighting tournament in 8 months. That tournament is a chance for you to step out of the great mysterious sect, out of the heavenly wind kingdom, and to contend with countless strong opponents from across the continent. No matter how detailed the barbaric wilderness mountain and sea map is described, it is not as clear as walking the journey yourself. Fairy Jialuo's words made Yichan and Zhang Yao nod repeatedly. The Wine Sword Taoist said that this first participation in the Spirit Sea Realm sword-fighting tournament should just be for gaining experience. But how could the pair be content to merely be spectators? They certainly wanted to prepare fully and compete fiercely with countless swordsmanship geniuses. Yeah. Fairy Jialuo finally looked at Zhang Yao. Tomorrow, take Yichan with you to your fellow disciple Yu's place, and learn swordsmanship under her. I hope that in these 8 months, you can achieve great accomplishments. Sister Yu? Yichan remembered that the Wine Sword Taoist had mentioned a girl surnamed Yu in Snowdrift Peak who was among the top 3 in the last Spirit Sea Realm sword-fighting tournament. Could it be this Sister Yu? Yichan did not know the identity of Sister Yu, but how could Zhang Yao not know? When Zhang Yao heard Fairy Jialuo telling her and Yichan to study swordsmanship with Sister Yu, the young girl's face flushed red with excitement, and she said to Yichan eagerly, Yichan, Sister Yu's swordsmanship is incredibly powerful. I fear she is second only to the master in the entire great mysterious sect. Studying swordsmanship with Sister Yu, we will surely make great strides. Tomorrow, we will go together to find Sister Yu. The girl's excited demeanor made Yichan even more curious about Sister Yu. His first learning experience in the great mysterious sect would start with her. Yichan also felt some anticipation. After bidding farewell to Fairy Jialuo on the hillside, Yichan, under Zhang Yao's guidance, found a secluded courtyard on Snowdrift Peak. This courtyard was 7 or 8 times larger than the small courtyard Yichan had lived in at the Qingyun sect, and it was filled with various kinds of spirit grass. The emerald spirit bamboo swayed, and the true qi of heaven and earth was abundant. The courtyard was very close to where Zhang Yao lived, just a few pathways away. No more than the time it took to drink a cup of tea to reach, which pleased both Yichan and Zhang Yao. As the giant firebird rested in the courtyard, Yichan and Zhang Yao inside the house talked about their own experiences during the past 4+ months until deep into the night before they parted. The 4 rounds of assessment for the True Disciple Selection Tournament and Fairy Jialuo's explanation of the barbaric wilderness mountain and sea map had tensed Yichan's spirit so much that as he lay in bed, he soon fell asleep. When Yichan woke up early the next day, he felt refreshed and energetic once again. Not long after, the beautiful Zhang Yao, dressed in a goose-yellow robe, arrived at the courtyard again. After exchanging smiles, Yichan followed Zhang Yao on their way to Sister Yu's residence. Chapter 171 Sword Mark, Sword Formation. During last night's conversation, Yichan learned a great deal about this Sister Yu through Zhang Yao. Unlike Zhang Yao, who primarily cultivated true qi skills, Sister Yu immersed her entire being into the practice of swordsmanship. It was said that she not only inherited many of Fairy Jialuo's swordsmanship achievements, but also had her fortunate encounters and gains, having come a long way in the path of the sword. When Yichan heard that Sister Yu had mastered at least 50 kinds of sword intents, he was utterly shocked. After all, having cultivated only the Wind Sword intent, Storm Rain Sword intent, Sword intent of Thunder, and Purple Lightning Sword intent, he had created an incredibly powerful Slaughter Sword intent. With Sister Yu having cultivated no less than 50 kinds of sword intents, what kind of achievements would she have accomplished? Yichan couldn't help but long to meet Sister Yu. Snowdrift Peak was immense, and as Yichan and Zhang Yao made their way through small paths around the mountainside, turning around several cliff faces, and walking for about the time it takes to drink a cup of tea, they saw at a distance a small stream by a gracefully simple courtyard. The residence ahead is where Sister Yu lives. On seeing the courtyard ahead, Zhang Yao grew excited, grabbing Yichan's hand and quickly heading towards the yard. Sister Yu has always lived in seclusion, deeply engrossed in understanding swordsmanship and seldom appears in public. It is said that apart from our master, no one else has had the opportunity to enter her courtyard. Although I have seen Sister Yu a few times, I have never been able to enter her dwelling. Yi-chun, today we'll be able to see what Sister Yu's courtyard is really like. Holding Jiang Yao's soft hand, Yi-chun looked curiously at the courtyard ahead. The courtyard gate was closed tightly, and as they approached the entrance, the gate creaked open automatically before they could even knock. Eh? Could Sister Yu know we're coming? Let's go, Yi-chun. Let's go in. Jiang Yao stepped forward with Yi-chun, crossing into the courtyard. As soon as Yi-chun stepped into the courtyard, he felt the air filled with an indescribable sword energy gleaming. These flickers of sword energy even caused the crimson fire flying sword in his sword palace acupoint to vibrate on its own. What an odd sensation. Yi-chun peered into the courtyard again and was taken aback. He saw dense fog completely obscuring the layout of the courtyard, leaving nothing clear in sight, with only a winding path appearing beneath his feet. This was a gravel path, but on this path Yi-chun saw multiple sword marks. Boom! The moment Yi-chun's eyes touched these sword marks, he felt as if the world was spinning, and the hand that he had been holding, Jiang Yao's hand, suddenly became empty. Jiang Yao had vanished. Yi-chun's expression changed. He cast his divine sense out in all directions. His divine sense, which could envelop 1,000 feet in radius, could only perceive an all-encompassing mist, with nothing but the path beneath his feet identifiable. Yi-chun could only continue along the path ahead. The more Yi-chun walked, the more alarmed he became. The path seemed never-ending, and judging by the distance he had covered, he should have left the confines of the small courtyard by now, yet he was still on the gravel path. What's going on? How can Sister Yu's courtyard be so strange? Yi-chun halted, his brows furrowing. He looked around, but only saw more dense fog and the same continuous path beneath his feet. When Yi-chun's gaze fell on the sword marks on the path again, a flash of insight sparked in his eyes. An illusion array. This must be an extremely formidable swordsmanship illusion array. As soon as I entered Sister Yu's courtyard, I was caught in this swordsmanship illusion array, and Jiang Yao disappeared too. Could this be Sister Yu's test for me? Without passing this illusion array, there's no chance of meeting her. Yi-chun pondered to himself. At this moment, Yi-chun was trapped in what seemed like an endless path. From the void above, one could see that Yi-chun was merely walking within a few hundred feet square area, and by now, Jiang Yao had already reached beyond this small area. Standing next to Jiang Yao were two women. One was a 15-year-old girl dressed in simple green clothes with delicate features. If Yi-chun saw her, he would be greatly surprised. This girl was none other than Yu Luoxian, who had participated in the selection of true disciples with him and ultimately took second place, joining Snowdrift Peak. The other woman, who looked somewhat similar to Yu Luoxian but appeared to be around 20 years old, was dressed in an elegant white dress. With her quiet and peaceful beautiful eyes, it seemed as if nothing in the world could stir the slightest ripple in her heart. At this moment, as Jiang Yao looked at this woman, she called out, "Sister Yu, what's happening? Why is Yi-chun just walking around in that small area?" From Jiang Yao's address, it was clear that this woman was the Sister Yu that Yi-chun and Jiang Yao were seeking, the owner of the courtyard. Then, Sister Yu smiled as she regarded Jiang Yao. "Sister Yaoer, I've heard from my sister that this Yi-chun, who came with you, is quite remarkable. You want to learn swordsmanship from me, that's of course possible. If he wants to learn my swordsmanship, well, he'll need to pass a small test first. I also want to see just how impressive Yi-chun really is." As she spoke, Sister Yu's beautiful eyes gleamed with a smile as she observed Yi-chun, who was moving about. "Let's see how long it takes him to uncover the secret of my minor 1,000 sword formation. If he can't grasp it within half an hour, that would be quite disappointing." "My sister." Jiang Yao glanced at Sister Yu, then at Yu Luoxian beside her. She suddenly remembered that Sister Yu's full name was Yu Luolian, Yu Luoxian, Yu Luolian. It turned out that Yu Luoxian was Sister Yu's younger sister. Jiang Yao had no idea that Sister Yu had a sister. And now that Sister Yu mentioned that Yi-chun was undergoing a test, Jiang Yao couldn't be bothered to ask about the sister's affairs. Her beautiful eyes turned to Yi-chun, who was entering an unknown formation for testing. Formation testing? The secret of the minor thousand sword formation. Yi-chun will definitely pass this formation test. Jiang Yao had an inexplicable confidence in Yi-chun. At that moment, within the illusion array, the eyes of Yi-chun, who was examining the sword marks on the path, began to shine brighter and brighter. Sword marks. The secret of this illusion array lies in these sword marks. These sword marks seem chaotic, yet they seem to follow some mysterious order. To get out of this illusion array, it seems necessary to study these sword marks. Yi-chun calmed his spirit, showing no hurry to leave. His entire focus immersed himself within these sword marks. His vast divine sense began to survey and ponder each and every sword mark within its reach. After about a dozen or so breaths had passed since he began his scrutiny and deliberation, Yi-chun suddenly closed his eyes. A moment later, when Yi-chun opened his eyes again, his gaze fixed onto 3 strange sword marks on the path. The moment his gaze landed on these 3 sword marks, the dense fog that filled the exterior of the narrow path surged wildly. Within the stirring fog, Yi-chun thought he saw a woman in white practicing a set of peculiar swordsmanship. This swordsmanship was filled with endless charm and profound artistic conception, a style of sword intense that Yi-chun had never encountered before. When Yi-chun watched the woman execute the 3rd move of the sword technique, his gaze immediately switched to the 4 sword marks on the path. He suddenly realized that the sword technique seemed to imply another more powerful sword technique, which was related to another set of 4 sword marks. Boom! Just as Yi-chun was focusing on the new set of 4 sword marks, the dense fog changed again, and the woman in white began to practice a new set of sword techniques. Yi-chun continued to watch this new sword technique. Outside the illusion array, seeing Yi-chun's sharp gaze, feeling the fluctuations of sword energy in the void, the always graceful and composed Sister Yu's eyes suddenly widened in astonishment. Truly powerful. He's actually able to find the secret of my sword formation so quickly. If he can discern the 5th variation of the sword formation, then he can leave the formation. Could Yi-chun really be such a genius? The change in Sister Yu's expression caught the attention of Yu Luoxian, who was nearby. Yu Luoxian, like Jiang Yao, turned her attention to Yi-chun. It seems Yi-chun has even surprised Sister, muttered Yu Luoxian to herself. Meanwhile, within the illusion array, the sword marks Yi-chun focused on increased in number. From 3 to 4 and then to 5. In the end, it even reached 8, 9 marks, and the dense fog around him was retreating rapidly, with all illusions seemingly fading away. But at this moment, Yi-chun closed his eyes again. As the illusions dissipated, he could see more and more sword marks. He could feel the increasingly wondrous changes of the sword marks. In the end, in his mind, he even visualized the woman in white practicing the changes of dozens, even hundreds of sword marks. Boom! After the countless variations of the sword technique dissipated, Yi-chun suddenly opened his eyes. In that instant, it seemed he had understood many rules of sword intense. At the same time, he also saw that after the illusion array dissipated, 3 girls appeared in front of him. Besides Jiang Yao, he also saw Yu Luoxian, and when he recognized the white-clad woman beside Jiang Yao and Yu Luoxian, a shock went through his eyes. This white-clad woman was none other than the one who had been practicing the sword technique in the dense fog illusion array. Was this Sister Yu? Chapter 172 Guidance. As Yi-chun looked at the 3 girls, they also turned their gaze towards him. Yi-chun. Among the 3 girls, Jiang Yao was the most stunning and vivacious, and she had the closest ties with Yi-chun. The girl in light yellow clothing saw Yi-chun emerge from the illusion array. Her clear eyes, shining like stars, filled with joy. She immediately ran up to Yi-chun. Yi-chun, you truly are formidable. Even Sister's test couldn't stump you, she said. Behind Jiang Yao, Yu Luoxian also gave a gentle smile and walked towards Yi-chun. Lastly, Yu, in a white dress pure and elegant like water, looked at Yi-chun with a soft smile and said, Yi-chun, my little junior brother, Meeting you for the first time has quite surprised me. Yi-chen, this is Sister Yu. It was Sister Yu who tested you just now, Zhang Yao said to Yi-chen with a laugh. And also, Sister Yu is Sister Yu Luoxuan's elder sister. I only found out just now myself. This Sister Yu is Yu Luoxuan's elder sister? Yi-chen looked from Sister Yu in white to Yu Luoxian in green, noticing a resemblance between the two. Although Sister Yu carried more grace and composure, while Yu Luoxian still retained a hint of youthfulness. Yi-chen cupped his fists and greeted Sister Yu. Yi-chen has seen Sister Yu, while he also nodded and smiled at Yu Luoxian. In the few moments spent within the illusion array, Yi-chen had perceived the wonders of Sister Yu's swordsmanship merely from the countless sword marks. Indeed, as Taoist wine sword, Fairy Jialuo, and Zhang Yao had said, Sister Yu possessed considerable accomplishments in the way of the sword. Little junior brother Yi-chen, Master informed me yesterday about your and Yao's intentions to practice swordsmanship under my guidance. I shall heed the instruction of our master, and from today onward, I can teach you 3 hours of swordsmanship daily, until the sword dueling tournament begins. Sister Yu told Yi-chen and Zhang Yao with a light smile. 3 hours of swordsmanship instruction every day. These words from Sister Yu filled both Yi-chen and Zhang Yao with joy. Known to be reclusive and seldom appearing in Taishan's sect as she concentrated on her swordsmanship, they had worried that Sister Yu might be reluctant to spend too much time on them. Unexpectedly, Sister Yu was remarkably kind. 3 hours. A lengthy period of teaching, especially for someone as dedicated as Sister Yu. Thank you, Sister Yu. Yi-chen and Zhang Yao both expressed their gratitude respectfully. Then, Sister Yu turned to look at Yu Luoxian. Little sister, you will practice alongside little junior brother Yi-chen and Yao, she said. Yes, sister. Yu Luoxian was visibly excited to have the chance to train with 2 of Taishan's sect's most capable prodigies, Yi-chen and Zhang Yao. After patting her sister's head, Sister Yu looked at Yi-chen and Zhang Yao again. The last Spirit Sea Realm sword dueling tournament. I participated in that as well. 5 years have flown by since then, and I hadn't expected the next Spirit Sea Realm sword dueling tournament to come around so quickly. Last time, under the guidance of Master, I grasped 5 types of second-level sword intents, and I thought I could win the tournament. However, I didn't anticipate that 2 young geniuses from the Great Qin and Great Xia dynasties would appear in the tournament, and both had advanced into the practice of the 3rd-level sword intents. With a hint of anticipation in her eyes, Sister Yu continued, over the years, I've finally entered into the realm of 3rd-level sword intent and even gained a significant opportunity in the way of the sword. Sadly, I have yet to break through to the rotating pill realm, or else I would surely engage with those 2 once more in a match at the rotating pill realm sword dueling tournament. Yi-chen and Zhang Yao listened silently as Sister Yu spoke of the previous sword dueling tournament. Hearing about the 2nd-level and 3rd-level sword intents raised some doubts in them, especially in Yi-chen. After Yi-chen had condensed the slaughter sword intent from the 4 major sword intents, he was told it was a powerful 2nd-level sword intent, but he never understood what exactly constituted a 2nd-level sword intent. And now, Sister Yu had even mentioned the existence of a 3rd-level sword intent. Sister Yu, what are the 2nd-level sword intent and the 3rd-level sword intent? Yi-chen couldn't help but ask aloud. Sword intent is the pursuit of the essence of swordsmanship, extracted from the very nature of the sword, she explained. The 1st-level sword intent is the most fundamental and important. Like swordsmanship itself, there are myriad forms of this level of sword intent, all derived from the mood of all things. For instance, the purple lightning sword intent you both have practiced comes from the mood of purple lightning. Whoosh! As she spoke, Sister Yu flicked her finger, and suddenly, countless currents surged through the void, instantly forming a purple lightning sword in the void. Sister Yu understood purple lightning sword intent and even recognized that Yi-chen and Zhang Yao had practiced it. A level of skill and insight that stunned both Yi-chen and Zhang Yao. Seeing their shocked expressions, Sister Yu smiled gently. Once you step into the 3rd-level sword intent, you too will be able to easily discern the sword intents of those at a lower level of sword practice. Sister Yu went on, purple lightning sword intent is just one of the countless 1st-level sword intents. With myriad wondrous sword intents, even after more than a decade of sword training, I have mastered only a small portion. Like this piercing light sword intent, flying rainbow sword intent, 7-star sword intent, drifting snow sword intent. As Sister Yu named each sword intent, she would flick her finger, and a corresponding sword intent would manifest in the void. These swords of sword intent ranged from a bright glare like the sun, to rainbow-colored transformations, from the dazzling shine of 7 stars, to snowflakes falling from the sky. Through these marvelous demonstrations of first-level sword intent, Yi Chun and Jiang Yao came to understand what the first-level sword intent was. The first-level sword intent encompasses the sword intent of all things, derived from the moods of all things. Just like the wind sword intent, torrential rain sword intent of thunder, and purple lightning sword intent that Yi Chun cultivated. These 4 great sword intents all originated from the sword intent of all things and all are at the first-level sword intent. Previously, Sister Yu said that there were thousands of kinds of first-level sword intents, which is no wonder, given the myriad moods of all things. It's naturally very difficult to master them all, and even observing the natural world for decades or centuries wouldn't be enough to fully understand all its aspects. After demonstrating several kinds of first-level sword intents, Sister Yu flicked her finger lightly, and in an instant, Yi Chun noticed many kinds of first-level sword intents beginning to fuse. Under Sister Yu's direction, a new sword intent started to spread toward him. This sensation of sword intent was just like when he had ventured through that illusion realm, observing those traces of swords. It was the same feeling. This was indeed Sister Yu demonstrating the second-level sword intent. The second-level sword intent is the fusion of sword intents, extracting a deeper essence from various first-level sword intents. The first-level sword intent of all things is just the surface of all things, while the second-level sword intent is a fusion of the essences within, like how the wind sword intent contains a mood of slaughter, the rain sword intent also has a sword intent of slaughter, the sword intent of thunder contains a sword intent of slaughter, and the electric sword intent also has a sword intent of slaughter. The slaughter sword intent is an example of a second-level fusion sword intent. Boom! In a moment, countless sword of slaughter appeared in the void around Sister Yu's body. Yi Chun saw that these sword of slaughter were even more powerful and terrifying than the sword of slaughter he could control. Obviously, Sister Yu was demonstrating the only second-level sword intent Yi Chun had mastered to explain to him what the second-level sword intent was. The second-level sword intent can continuously increase in power. The more first-level sword intents you fuse, the stronger the power will be. Like the slaughter sword intent you cultivated, it is only a fusion of the slaying power of 4 first-level sword intents. But my slaughter sword intent already has 18 kinds of slaying powers fused, making it all the more powerful. While Sister Yu spoke, aside from the essences of wind, rain, thunder, and lightning, glimmers of piercing light slaughter, blizzard slaughter, and flame slaughter, along with even more first-level sword intents, flickered on the swords of slaughter around her body. At that moment, Yi Chun had an epiphany. It turned out that by fusing the first-level sword intents of all things and extracting the common points of the sword intents from all things, one could form the second-level sword intent. And the more first-level sword intents mastered, the stronger and more terrifying the second-level fusion sword intent would be. As Yi Chun came to understand, a glint of thorough enlightenment also appeared in Jiang Yao's eyes. Both were prodigious youths with much stronger comprehension abilities than others. They certainly understood Sister Yu's words. By comparison, Yu Luoxian on the side still seemed somewhat confused. Sister Yu didn't explain further to Yu Luoxian, knowing that these sword Dao rules would become clear with more practice. She continued, slaughter sword intent is just one type of second-level fusion sword intent. There are many things in the world that can be fused, like speed sword intent, which is the refinement of the swiftness of countless sword intents of all things. Whoosh! As Sister Yu spoke, Yi Chun and Jiang Yao felt a sword light flash through the void, and instantly, a sword light appeared dozens of meters away in the high sky. The speed was truly unimaginably fast. This speed sword intent was even faster than all the swordsmanship Yi Chun had learned. There's also this kind of fusion sword intent, vibrational sword intent. Sister Yu pointed at a piece of blue stone placed in the courtyard not far away, and in an instant, The blue stone appeared as if it were enveloped by an inexplicable sword intent. Yichun probed with his divine consciousness and was shocked to find that while the surface of the blue stone had not changed, its interior was violently vibrating. In just a moment, the blue stone shattered completely from the inside, pulverizing into dust. This was an incredibly powerful sword intent, vibrational sword intent, and Yichun instantly memorized the name of this second-level sword intent. Vibrational sword intent is derived from refining the vibrating frequencies of all things. This kind of vibration is very useful in battle, especially against those whose defense relies mainly on their physical bodies. Once the vibrational sword intent is transmitted into their bodies, even if their external defenses are strong, the internal vibrations can directly shatter them from the inside. Yichun nodded. Indeed, this was a very useful tactic, not attacking directly from the outside, but from the more vulnerable inside. Slaughter sword intent, speed sword intent, vibrational sword intent. After demonstrating 7 or 8 second-level sword intents, Sister Yu finally spoke about the third-level sword intent. When you master several second-level sword intents, you can cultivate an even more powerful third-level sword intent. The third-level sword intent is called sword formation. What is a sword formation? It is using second-level sword intents in combination to form a unified formation attack, like my minor thousand sword formation, which contains the 23 second-level sword intents I've cultivated so far. Whoosh! As Sister Yu spoke, Yichun saw that within hundreds of feet in the distance, countless currents surged and countless sword lights flickered. Yichun could sense that that area contained at least hundreds of swords of true qi. Within these swords of true qi were the powers of slaughter, vibration, speed, and even a terrifying power of destruction. The fusion of these countless second-level sword intents turned that area into a veritable sword formation of slaughter capable of grinding everything to nothing. The illusion array that Yichun had previously fallen into was this minor thousand sword formation. Previously, Sister Yu had only presented the various sword intents to him and had not unleashed the true killing power of the sword formation. Now, just by looking, Yichun knew that the killing power of the sword formation could easily slay a late Spirit Sea Realm expert and, without using ultimate moves like Void Instantaneous Change and Flying Sword, he might also be instantly annihilated by the sword formation. This was the power of the third-level sword intent. Chapter 173 Thunderlight Sword Formation. Manipulating hundreds of swords of true qi, this third-level sword intent truly possesses more startling power compared to the second-level sword intent. Yichun had previously been able to manipulate hundreds of swords of true qi as well, but those swords of true qi contained only one type of sword intent. However, this sword formation let many types of sword intents cooperate, causing the lethality of the hundreds of swords of true qi to spike to an unbelievable degree. This is the third-level sword intent. With the combination of sword formation and sword intents, of course it's more powerful than the second level that possesses only one type of sword intent. Yichun felt that if he mastered a few sword formations like this third-level sword intent, his combat power would again be able to greatly increase. This was a new powerful attack technique. Yichun was itching to try it out. It wasn't just Yichun. At this moment, Zhang Yao and Yu Luoxian, after seeing Sister Yu's miraculous sword formation's lethality, their eyes shimmered with light, and the two young girls also fostered the idea of cultivating the sword formation. Seeing the expression on the three of them, Sister Yu smiled gently. During the time I teach you the way of the sword, I will instruct you in several sword formations, from easy to difficult. Once you've mastered one sword formation, I'll start imparting a more powerful sword formation to you. How much you'll learn depends on your insight. Don't let the 8 months pass and find that not one of you three has learned even a single sword formation. Okay. Of course not. We'll surely learn at least 2 or 3 sword formations. Yichun, Zhang Yao, and Yu Luoxian all started laughing. Good. Then now let's go to the backyard and begin practicing the first sword formation. Sister Yu, clad in a simple white dress, moved nimbly towards the backyard. Yichun and the other two followed her there. Sister Yu's backyard was much more spacious than the front yard, and on the ground, one could see sword marks etched from practicing sword techniques, clearly indicating that Sister Yu often practiced her swordsmanship here. From the lowest to the highest, sword intent can be divided into the first level sword intent of all things, the second level fusion sword intent, and the third level sword formation. And within the third level sword formation, there are differences too. Based on the number of second level sword intents contained within the sword formation, they can be classified as low-level sword formations, mid-level sword formations, and high-level sword formations. As to whether there are any sword formations beyond the high level, with my current level of sword cultivation, I am unable to know. Low-level sword formations contain fewer than 10 types of second-level sword intents. Mid-level sword formations contain fewer than 100 types of second-level sword intents. High-level sword formations contain fewer than 1,000 types of second-level sword intents. Now, I will teach you a low-level sword formation, and the name of this sword formation is Thunderlight Sword Formation. As Sister Yu spoke, her snowy palm flicked lightly, and 13 beads started to float out, scattering across the sky, suspending in mid-air in a fascinating arrangement. Yi-chun looked towards these beads and saw faint traces of sword intent wafting from them. These beads were evidently beads that contained sword intents. Zhang Yao's clear eyes fixated on the 13 beads, which also sparked brightly. Yu Luoxian, too, looked curiously at these beads. This Thunderlight Sword Formation is the simplest one among the 8 great sword formations I obtained from a great fortuitous encounter, yet its power has already reached the strength of Earth rank attack martial skills. Sister Yu said slowly. The simplest of the 8 great sword formations possessed the power of an Earth rank attack martial skill. The words of Sister Yu made Yi-chan and the other 2 tremble. Clearly, the great opportunity Sister Yu had obtained was extraordinary. Yi-chan thought to himself, surely powerful martial artists all had their own fortuitous encounters. He had the opportunities of Thousand Lotus Cave Abode and the Ancestral Land Secret Realm, and Sister Yu also had her sword formation opportunity. Others who managed to become Spirit Sea Realm experts, Rotating Pill Realm experts, and even Heavenly Saint Realm experts of course also had their own opportunities. Earth rank martial skills were still a level Yi-chan had never touched. Perhaps only after he cultivated the 9 transformation fighting body to the 4th transformation would he possibly step into the realm of Earth rank martial skills. Now Yu, the elder sister, was about to teach the first sword formation, this Thunderlight Sword Formation, which was an Earth rank martial skill, and Yi-chan certainly intended to properly cultivate it. Not only Yi-chan, but Zhang Yao and Yu Luoxian were also eager to start cultivating this martial skill. All 3 were geniuses. Yi-chan and Zhang Yao had obtained first place in their respective true disciple selection contests, while Yu Luoxian was the second place winner of the selection contest. With their exceptional talents, they were naturally unafraid of the difficulty in cultivating Earth rank martial skills. Yu, the elder sister, looked at the 13 beads floating in the sky and slowly said, to cultivate a sword formation, the first step is to grasp the various sword intents contained within the formation. The second step is to learn how to arrange the formation so that the sword intents complement each other. The third step is to instantaneously set up and conceal the sword formation. This Thunderlight Sword Formation contains 13 types of sword intents, among which 11 are first-level sword intents, and 2 are second-level sword intents. When you cultivate the sword formation, you'll understand that it's not about having more sword intents that's better, but having sword intents that complement each other better. Otherwise, the sword formation will be difficult to construct and collapse in an instant. Yi-chan and the others nodded in agreement. They knew that a sword formation, like any other formation, must be appropriately matched. Having one too many or too few could prevent the formation from taking shape. The main lethality of the Thunderlight Sword Formation lies in the 2 second-level sword intents, which are Furious Roar and Dazzling Light. As she said this, Yu, the elder sister, looked at Yi-chan. Yi-chan, you've also cultivated Thunder Sword intent, but you've only extracted the power of slaughter from it. The furious roar in this Thunderlight Sword Formation is derived from the mighty rumble of thunder in the Thunder Sword intent, supplemented by the roar of several other sword intents that include sound, eventually forming the lethal power of Furious Roar. Watch this. Yu, the elder sister, then demonstrated the lethal power of the sword formation. With a light tap of her finger, the 13 beads of sword intent floating in the void shot out dozens of meters in an instant. Then, after the beads vanished, a thunderous, furious roar suddenly erupted within the area covered by the beads. The noise was deafening, as if countless thunders were exploding or numerous demon beasts were howling ferociously. Standing tens of meters away, Yi-chan and the others felt as if their hearts were being furiously struck by a large drum upon hearing the sound. If one were truly in the midst of this sword formation, the noise alone could instantly turn one's mind blank. After all, in a fight between experts, victory and defeat are often just a hair's breadth apart. If one were to deploy this sword formation in a battle, the adversary might not be able to withstand the assault from the noise, and the moment they were distracted, they might be slain. The lethality of this furious roar was indeed fearsome. The lethality of furious roar is just one aspect of the Thunderlight Great Formation. Another is dazzling light. As you, the elder sister, spoke, the great formation made from the 13 beads suddenly burst into endless blinding brilliance. Just looking at the piercing light from a distance was enough to dazzle one's eyes. And if it were to directly hit the eyes, it could instantly blind the person. This was the lethality of dazzling light. This Thunderlight sword formation uses the lethal power of sound combined with the brilliance of dazzling light, together with the slash of the 11 first-level sword intents to easily slay anyone caught within the sword formation. Yi-chan, Jiang Yao, and Yu Luoxian watched you, the elder sister, demonstrate this first type of sword intent and could no longer resist starting their cultivation. After the demonstration, the 13 beads flew back and landed in front of them. You, the elder sister, watched the three with a faint smile and said, "Now, let's begin with the first step of cultivating the Thunderlight sword formation. Taking control of these 13 types of sword intents, each of you select a sword intent law bead, immerse your divine sense in it, and you will be able to sense the sword intent within. Begin cultivating." With you, the elder sister's words, Yi-chan and the others each immersed their divine senses into a bead. Yu Luoxuan's divine sense entered a bead containing the howling sound of the wind, while Jiang Yao immersed her divine sense into a bead containing the sword intent of the blazing sun's radiance. Yi Chen's divine sense gently probed into one bead, and in an instant, he found himself in a world of dazzling multicolored light. This multicolored radiance was constantly bursting forth, growing increasingly dazzling and splendid. This was clearly the radiant light sword intent. With his divine sense immersed within, Yi-chan focused on comprehending this new kind of sword intent. Chapter 174, The Ancient Tomb appears. Storm Rain sword intent. Embodying the temperament of a torrential storm, myriad rains falling from the heavens. Extreme speed, instantaneous killing, piercing. Purple lightning sword intent. Contains the essence of purple lightning. Purple rays illuminating thousands. Extreme speed, lethal penetration, dazzling light. Wind sword intent, born of the wind's temperament. The wind at times heavy or light, swift or slow, sweeping all before it yet gently caressing everything. Sword intent of thunder is even accompanied by the thundering roar, the thunder's devastating force. Sword intents are the fusion of temperament and sword techniques. This rosy cloud sword intent, when executed with sword technique, appears as rays of rosy light illuminating the skies, permeating the firmament. Yi-chan had cultivated the 4 major sword intents, and his comprehension of sword intents was already deeper than that of many sword arts prodigies. Immersed in the rosy cloud sword intent, Yi-chan seemed to watch sword shadows perform within the world of colorful rosy clouds, as if witnessing the birth of numerous sword techniques within this world. If all of this colorful rosy light could transform into swords, into sword techniques, that would be the moment of complete comprehension of the rosy cloud sword intent. Yi-chan had become fully engrossed in the comprehension of this new type of sword intent. Outside the 13 sword intent law beads, Sister Yu quietly sat down as she saw Yi-chan and the others immersed in their comprehension of sword intents. I wonder how long it will take them to comprehend the first sword intent from these 13 sword intent law beads. Sister Yu's gaze swept over the faces of Yi Chun, Jiang Yao, and Yu Luoxian. My sister has never cultivated sword intents. I'm afraid it may take her a long time to comprehend. Sister Yaoer possesses exceptional talent, though her main focus has been on cultivating true chi skills. She's also incredibly proficient at learning sword techniques. I remember Master saying, if Sister Yaoer devoted her entire mind to sword intent cultivation, her future achievements in the path of the sword could even surpass Master. It took me 2 full months to cultivate the Thunderlight sword formation from 13 individual sword intent law beads, and the first bead alone took 3 days for me to thoroughly comprehend. Sister Yaoer should be faster than me. Finally, Sister Yu's gaze settled on Yi Chun. Yi Chun. When I tested his comprehension of the sword path while entering the small courtyard earlier using the sword formation, his insight into sword intents was nothing short of astonishing. Just from the fact that he was able to detect the various sword intents in the minor thousand sword formation so quickly, his future achievements in sword cultivation will certainly be stronger than mine. Sister Yu looked at Yi Chun with an admiring expression. Sword cultivators always hold a sense of camaraderie for those with greater talent. It took me 4 days to comprehend the very same rosy cloud sword intent law bead that Yi Chun is now comprehending, from among the 13. I'm afraid Yi Chun might only need 2 days, or possibly even just 1 day to achieve it. While Sister Yu speculated on how long it would take Yi Chun to comprehend the first sword intent law bead, her eyes suddenly widened as she looked toward him, because she startlingly noticed that the endless air around Yi Chun's body began to spontaneously surge. This was a sign of having touched upon the sword intent. Only by touching the sword intent can one's body be permeated with sword intents, causing the air to surge spontaneously. How long has it been? And Yi Chun has already touched upon the rosy cloud sword intent. Sister Yu's beautiful eyes were filled with disbelief. She had already set Yi Chun's time to fully comprehend the rosy cloud sword intent to 1 day, which was a terrifyingly fast pace for comprehending sword intents. But how much time had passed since then? From this perspective, perhaps it would not even take a day, just an hour or 2 for Yi Chun to comprehend this type of sword intent. This completely astonished Sister Yu. If Yi Chun really could comprehend the rosy cloud sword intent in just an hour or 2, it meant that Yi Chun might be able to master the entire Thunderlight sword formation in less than a month. If that were the case, Sister Yu wouldn't even mind passing on all 8 sword formations she had acquired to Yi Chun for cultivation. Keep in mind, even though she had obtained the 8 sword formations 4 years ago, she had only comprehended 6 of them, and she still couldn't master the 2 strongest formations. She had been stuck on the comprehension of the last 2 sword formations for a long time. If Yi Chun truly possessed an extremely powerful ability to comprehend sword formations, perhaps he could comprehend all 8 major sword formations faster than she did. In that case, Yi Chun might even be able to guide her in cultivating the final 2 major sword formations in return. Thinking of this, Sister Yu's gaze towards Yi Chun was filled with anticipation. Yi Chun, I've heard about the miracles you created at the True Disciple Selection Tournament, and I hope you can create another miracle in sword formation cultivation. In that case, maybe I'll have hope to master the 7th sword formation, the high-tier 1000 sword great formation. As Sister Yu anticipated, it didn't take long for the countless surging strands of air around Yi Chun to suddenly burst forth with dazzling, colorful rosy lights. Among this blinding, colorful rosy light, Sister Yu saw strings of rosy cloud swords hanging inverted around Yi Chun's body, each one diffusing magnificent sword intents. Yi Chun had indeed comprehended the rosy cloud sword intent so swiftly, and it only took him barely half an hour. Sister Yu, who had been sitting cross-legged, couldn't help but leap to her feet. Yi Chun's performance was simply incredible, surpassing all the sword masters she had ever seen, even stronger than when her master, Fairy Jialuo, had first cultivated sword techniques. A prodigy. Truly a prodigy. Perhaps in 8 months, Yi Chun could master all 4 low-tier sword formations of the 8 major sword formations, and might even master one of the 2 mid-tier formations. Chapter 175. The Ancient Tomb Appears Part 2. In that case, Even when facing the top sword cultivators from the three great dynasties at the Spirit Sea Realm Sword Fighting Tournament, he will definitely be able to compete with them. Over the years, the Spirit Sea Realm Sword Fighting Tournament has always been dominated by the sword cultivators from the three great dynasties. Our 13 countries of the Southern Heavens haven't seen anyone claim first place in a long time. Yichun just might have that chance. As Yu, with dreams filling her beautiful eyes, pondered this, Yichun opened his eyes amid the rosy cloud swords suspended around him. The moment he opened his eyes, the rosy cloud swords instantly turned into streams of air and dispersed without a trace, and seeing Yu's gaze turn towards him, he smiled at her and then entered into the comprehension of the second sword intent law bead. Not long after Yu's shock had subsided, on the other side, Zhang Yao also quickly completed her cultivation of the first sword intent law bead. When the girl opened her eyes while the sword of true qi suspended around her body radiated with unstoppable blazing sunlight, Yu was left utterly speechless. Her junior brother and sister were simply too formidable. So formidable that even as an elder sister who dedicated her whole mind to sword cultivation, she felt quite ashamed. Turning to look at Yu Luoxian nearby, Yu let out an exasperated sigh. My sister still can't compare to those two. The two of them are the true pride of Snowdrift Peak, the true pride of our Taishan sect. Even compared to the geniuses from 5th-ranking sects or even 4th-ranking sects, the two of them absolutely do not pale in comparison. The first day's 6 hours of cultivating sword intents passed quickly. At the end of this first day of cultivation, Yu Luoxian had yet to achieve anything, but Zhang Yao had already comprehended 4 sword intent law beads. And Yichun, the number of sword intent law beads he had comprehended, had even reached an astonishing 7. Exceeding over half of the total 13 sword intent law beads. When sending Yichun and Zhang Yao out of the courtyard, he was even ready to start teaching them how to construct sword formations on the second and third days. In the time that followed, Yichun and Zhang Yao would come to Yu's place every day to cultivate sword formations. In addition to the 6 hours spent on cultivating sword formations, Yichun and Zhang Yao would cultivate together during the remaining time, stroll around the Taishan sect to relax, and sometimes even ride a giant fire sparrow to leave the Taishan sect and explore the surrounding areas. During these days, the relationship between Yichun and Zhang Yao grew closer and closer. Besides the two of them, the golden monkey would also often come out of the heaven spirit ring to play in the Taishan sect. The first time Zhang Yao saw the golden monkey, she was extremely fond of the palm-sized, lively creature, and even considered the idea of finding a mystical spirit pet just like Yichun had. Time passed unnoticed, and before he knew it, Yichun had already been at the Taishan sect for over a month. In that month, Yichun had smoothly mastered the Thunderlight Sword Formation and the Flash Kill Sword Formation, 2 types of low-tier sword formations, and had also entered into the comprehension of the 3rd low-tier sword formation. And Zhang Yao was not far behind. As the sword intents she comprehended grew in number, so too did her speed of comprehension increase. Eventually, just like Yichun, she also mastered these 2 sword formations. Even Yu Luoxian, although not reaching the level of controlling sword formations like the other 2, had successfully mastered 3 types of first-tier sword intents and finally stepped into the world of sword cultivator martial skills. Yichun had thought that the life before attending the Spirit Sea Realm Sword Fighting Tournament for 8 months would pass in such days when a sudden incident abruptly occurred, disrupting his peaceful cultivation life. The Demon Burial Abyss is the largest abyss in the Heavenly Wind Kingdom. This abyss stretches for hundreds of miles, is 7 to 8 miles wide, and its depth is immeasurable. The entire abyss is pitch black, filled with violently blowing fierce winds. Rumors had it that this abyss was a chasm created by the clash of 2 Heavenly Saint Realm powerhouses during the great battle between the 13 countries of the Southern Sky and the 10 great demon sects of the Western Wastelands thousands of years ago. In the subsequent millennia of warfare, this abyss served as the final resting place for the deceased demon cultivators of the 10 great demon sects of the Western Wastelands. The corpses of any demon cultivators who died within the Heavenly Wind Kingdom were all thrown into its depths. Thus, the abyss came to be known as the Demon Burial Abyss. Legend has it that over the past few thousand years, the number of corpses from the 10 great demon sects thrown into the Demon Burial Abyss might have exceeded 100,000. Yet no trace of the chasm being filled in was visible, which speaks to its unfathomable depth. Powerful cultivators in the late stages of the rotating pill realm once descended into this abyss, and even after sinking thousands of zhong, they still couldn't see the bottom of the demon burial abyss. The deeper they went, the more terrifying the remnants of the heavenly saint battles became. The gusts of primeval energy grew fiercer, and even those late-stage rotating pill realm experts dared not venture further down. As a place for burying demon cultivator corpses, the cultivators from the 13 countries of the southern sky gradually ceased to tread upon this territory, which eventually turned into the domain of demon beasts, the dominion of great demons. There were even rumors that in the demon burial abyss lived a demon king with strength equivalent to a rotating pill realm cultivator. The demon burial abyss gradually became known as the abyss of demon beasts. After the demon beasts occupied the demon burial abyss, the reason for the cultivators from the 13 countries of the southern sky to enter the abyss had become that of hunting these beasts. Over 30 days had passed since Yichun entered the Taishan sect when, one day, a disciple from the Cloud Sky sect, a fifth-ranked major sect in the Heavenly Wind Kingdom, was pursuing a flying bat within the abyss and suddenly stumbled into an extremely secret cave below. Upon entering the cave and venturing deeper, the Spirit Sea Realm disciple grew increasingly apprehensive. To his shock, he found that instead of extending inward, the cave spiraled downwards, and after descending over 1,000 zhong, the Spirit Sea Realm disciple discovered 3 pitch-dark gigantic coffins deep within the cave. Each of the 3 pitch-dark coffins was 7 to 8 zhong long and 3 to 4 zhong wide, sealed tightly shut, and despite the disciple's efforts to pry them open, he could not make them budge in the slightest. In the end, the Spirit Sea Realm disciple found a huge turning disc on the wall beside the 3 coffins. A burial site of antiquity. The turning disc might just be the key to unlocking this ancient burial site. This thought immediately sprang to the Spirit Sea Realm disciple's mind. As cultivators, who wouldn't want to enter a mysterious site of ruins, to encounter serendipities and opportunities? An ancient burial site could very likely hold great fortunes. Unable to resist, the disciple reached out to twist the massive disc. As soon as his hand made contact, endless black mist instantly enveloped him completely. In that moment, the Spirit Sea Realm cultivator dissipated into smoke. And just as the Spirit Sea Realm cultivator vanished, the 3 pitch-dark gigantic coffins emitted endless light. This boundless light even pierced through the 1,000 zhong deep cave, through the pitch-black demon burial deep abyss, erupting towards the sky. This astonishing phenomenon caught the attention of countless cultivators nearby the demon burial abyss, and even garnered the notice of immensely powerful rotating pill realm experts. One day later, all of the rotating pill realm experts in the entire Heavenly Wind Kingdom had gathered outside the demon burial abyss. Even Fairy Jia Luo, the strongest in the Taishan sect, was among them. Chapter 176. Gathering of the Strong. In just one day, the number of rotating pill realm powerhouses gathered outside the demon burial abyss had reached the hundreds. All the cultivators of the Heavenly Wind Kingdom, at present, can only reach as high as the rotating pill realm, which is the assembly of the most powerful entities in the Heavenly Wind Kingdom. After the arrival of these rotating pill realm powerhouses, those of the Spirit Sea Realm, who similarly could fly through the void, had been frightened into flying above the ground, not daring to set foot in the sky by even half a step. Those disciples in the True Chi Realm didn't even dare to breathe too loudly, afraid of provoking the rotating pill realm powerhouses. You must know it would be effortless for these rotating pill realm powerhouses to kill someone in the True Chi Realm or the Spirit Sea Realm. The rotating pill realm is the 3rd major realm in martial arts cultivation, surpassing both the True Chi Realm and the Spirit Sea Realm. Breaking through from the Spirit Sea Realm to the rotating pill realm is even more difficult than breaking through from the True Chi Realm to the Spirit Sea Realm. This is also the reason why, out of the countless millions of cultivators in the entire Heavenly Wind Kingdom, there are only a mere few hundred rotating pill realm powerhouses. To become a rotating pill realm powerhouse, one must be able to invoke the metal, wood, water, fire, earth 5 major heavenly void laws during the breakthrough, accepting at least one or a combination of these heavenly void laws. And once one has accepted even one of the 5 major heavenly void laws, even without fully comprehending these laws, they will possess incredible divine abilities, incomparable by those in the Spirit Sea Realm. It is extremely difficult to become a rotating pill realm powerhouse. However, once one steps into the rotating pill realm and integrates the true chi spiritual liquid within their spirit sea with the descending heavenly void laws to form a low rotating pill, their strength will increase to an unimaginable extent. Any rotating pill realm powerhouse is a famous and influential figure who dominates a region in the heavenly wind kingdom. Now, with these hundreds of rotating pill realm powerhouses arriving at the demon burial abyss, it naturally caused countless spirit sea realm and true chi realm cultivators on the ground to panic and hastily make way. All lower-ranked martial artists understood that with the arrival of these rotating pill realm powerhouses, even if the incredible phenomenon at the demon burial abyss offered great benefits, it would be up to these rotating pill realm powerhouses to decide how to distribute them. At this moment, all the rotating pill realm powerhouses were sitting cross-legged in the void, their gazes all fixed on the astonishing light emanating from the demon burial abyss. This astonishing light shot out from the demon burial abyss and surged hundreds of feet high in the sky, forming a gigantic void column of light. Such phenomena were extraordinary at first sight, completely captivating the rotating pill realm powerhouses. In the end, all the rotating pill realm powerhouses, after observing the void column of light for a long while, all looked towards a few people seated in the highest places in the void. These few individuals were precisely the top 5 rotating pill realm late-stage powerhouses of the heavenly wind kingdom, including Taoist Winesword, who had appeared at the Taishan sect's True Disciple Selection Conference and had invited Yi Chan to the Spirit Sea Realm Sword Fighting Conference. Apart from Taoist Winesword, the other 4 were from the heavenly wind kingdom's 3 major 5th-rank sects. From the northern region's 5th-rank sect, Cloud Sky sect, there were 2 rotating pill realm late-stage powerhouses, Yunyang and Taoist Yunfang. From the southern region's 5th-rank sect, Moon Concealing sect, there was 1 rotating pill realm late-stage powerhouse named Fairy Anaisia. From the western region's 5th-rank sect, Flame sect, there was 1 rotating pill realm late-stage powerhouse named Taoist Chimei. Taoist Winesword, Yunyang, Taoist Yunfang, Fairy Anaisia, Taoist Chimei. These 5 rotating pill realm late-stage powerhouses were the most formidable individuals in the heavenly wind kingdom. Besides these 5, there were 39 rotating pill realm mid-stage powerhouses and over 300 rotating pill realm early-stage powerhouses. With such a gathering of powerhouses present, how the phenomenon at the demon burial abyss would be investigated was naturally up for the most formidable figures to decide. Under the gaze of all the powerhouses, the 5 great rotating pill realm late-stage powerhouses exchanged glances, and then turned to look at Fairy Jalua, who was sitting among the rotating pill realm powerhouses of the Taishan sect. Jalua, come up and join the discussion. Fairy Jalua smiled lightly and stepped up to sit cross-legged beside the top 5 rotating pill realm late-stage powerhouses. Though Fairy Jalua's true chi realm was only at the rotating pill realm mid-stage, and she couldn't compare to the top 5 late-stage powerhouses, not even those in the rotating pill realm late stage dared to underestimate her in the slightest. This wasn't only because Fairy Jalua had once dominated numerous sword cultivators in the vast barbaric lands to take the first place in the rotating pill realm sword fighting conference, shocking the entire heavenly wind kingdom. It was also because Fairy Jalua, in a moment of earth-shattering anger, had personally slain 4 rotating pill realm mid-stage powerhouses, making all rotating pill realm powerhouses recognize that Fairy Jalua's strength had already reached the level of the rotating pill realm late stage. Just like this phenomenon at the demon burial abyss, there had been several occasions in the heavenly wind kingdom that had drawn all rotating pill realm powerhouses due to incredible phenomena and opportunities. The decisions on how to investigate and distribute these opportunities had all been made by Fairy Jalua. The 6 mightiest beings sat in the highest places of the void and began to discuss the affair of the astonishing phenomenon at the demon burial abyss. Below the 6 mightiest beings, the other rotating pill realm powerhouses were seated, and even further below on the vast ground were the countless spirit sea realm and true chi realm cultivators who had gathered because of the phenomenon at the demon burial abyss. The entire area was silent, save for the celestial column of light and the low voices of the 6 mighty beings conversing. After a long time, the 6 mightiest beings finally finished their discussion, and Yunyang of the Cloud Sky sect, robed in his sect's garments, looked down upon all the cultivators below and spoke slowly, This demon burial abyss is a vast chasm left by the battle of two great heavenly saint powerhouses of old, and for thousands of years, it has served as the burial place for the corpses of the 10 great demonic cultivators of the Western Desolation. Over these years, apart from wild beasts running rampant, there have hardly been any anomalies here. Now that there is such a celestial phenomenon, it could either be a great disaster or a tremendous opportunity for our heavenly wind kingdom. We 6 have agreed to take the initiative to probe the source of this phenomenon, and afterward, we will discuss how to proceed. Yunyang's words prompted the rotating pill realm powerhouses below to nod continuously. We will follow the arrangements of our Taoist friends. The true Qi realm and Spirit Sea realm cultivators on the ground, however, didn't have the guts to speak up at all, let alone dare to discuss recklessly. Qi Mei, just like the previous explorations of anomalies, let your fire spirit puppets do the investigation, said Yunyang with a smile, seeing no objections below, addressing Qi Mei from the 5th rank Grand Sect, Flame Sect, who had also reached the late stage of the rotating pill realm. This Taoist Qi Mei was a middle-aged man with a broad frame, and the most striking feature was his pair of fiery red eyebrows, which looked like red flames. Hearing Yunyang's words, Taoist Qi Mei smiled faintly. With a wave of his large hand, 5 flames appeared in his palm. The flames began to burn fiercely, and eventually, they seemed to come to life, transforming into 5 incredibly agile little firemen that flew towards the demon burial abyss, from where the startling column of light had emerged. These 5 agile little firemen, each only a little over half a meter tall, emitted a powerful aura that even made the early-stage rotating pill realm powerhouses feel a tingling in their hearts. And the true Qi realm and Spirit Sea realm martial artists kept far away from these little firemen, fearing being touched by them. Those who knew of Taoist Qi Mei's methods were discussing in astonishment. When Senior Qi Mei first stepped into the rotating pill realm, he merged with the fire element law from the 5 heavenly void laws. It said that he has cultivated the fire element law to the 3rd layer, just 1 step away from completing all 4 layers. Once all 4 layers of the fire element law are completed, one can become a saint of the fire law, stepping into the heavenly saint realm. Merging with a descending heavenly void law can turn one into a rotating pill realm powerhouse, and cultivating any of the 5 heavenly void laws to perfection allows one to become a saint of that law, stepping into the heavenly saint realm, and becoming a supreme heavenly saint realm powerhouse. Delving into the ultimate mysteries of space and time, this Taoist Qi Mei was not far from achieving the heavenly saint realm. Although he was not far from it, just lacking the final layer of comprehension for the fire element law, Taoist Qi Mei had been at this stage for more than 300 years. As murmurs filled the air, the 5 little firemen had already flown into the demon burial abyss. With a wave of his hand, Taoist Qi Mei displayed the scenes discovered by the firemen in the void for everyone to see. Everyone looked toward the void to see the interior of the demon burial abyss revealed as the little firemen continued their investigation. Seeing a 200-meter-long beast lunging at the firemen, only to be incinerated to ashes by the fiery light they emitted upon contact, countless martial artists gasped in shock. As the firemen entered the mysterious cave, everyone saw the scene inside it and the spiraling passage descending into its depths. After the startling phenomenon occurred, the rotating pill realm powerhouses dared not rashly investigate this terrifying anomaly, preventing anyone from entering, and waited for the arrival of more powerful beings. Thus, none had seen this cave before, and they couldn't imagine that such a mysterious cave was hidden within the demon burial abyss. And when the 5 firemen stepped into the deepest part of the cave and saw the place where the startling light was emanating from, with 3 colossal dark coffins, even the rotating pill realm powerhouses were visibly shaken. Coffins. Tombs. This was the sign of a great secret land. As powerhouses who had explored numerous fortuitous encounters, they knew that the presence of a colossal coffin always indicated the site of an ancient tomb left by a powerful being. The phenomenon was so extraordinary that the tomb was likely to be anything but ordinary. If it were the tomb of a rotating pill realm powerhouse, such a startling phenomenon wouldn't occur. Could it be? Could it really be a heavenly saint ancient tomb? Even the 5 late-stage powerhouses of the rotating pill realm up above were somewhat moved at the thought. The Heavenly Saint ancient tomb could potentially contain a great treasure or collection left by the Heavenly Saint, and even more likely, the law relic that the rotating pill realm powerhouses dreamt of obtaining. It was known that any Heavenly Saint who fully cultivated one of the metal, wood, water, fire, earth, heavenly void laws would, upon their death, not disperse their complete law. Instead, it would transform into a law relic within the ancient tomb. This law relic was of great use to the rotating pill realm powerhouses in comprehending laws and was a coveted treasure many would vie for. Unfortunately, the demise of a Heavenly Saint realm powerhouse was exceedingly rare. Although many had entered the remains or cultivation caves left by Heavenly Saint realm powerhouses, no one had ever entered a Heavenly Saint ancient tomb. If this truly was a Heavenly Saint ancient tomb, then all rotating pill realm powerhouses would go mad with excitement. Chapter 177. The Fall of the Heavenly Saint. Of course, it's madness. Let's not even mention the most important law relic. Just the treasures on a Heavenly Saint realm expert alone are probably worth more than the total secret hoard of a 5th-rank sect. How could the relics and secret sites left by those Heavenly Saint realm experts compare to the treasures in the Heavenly Saint mausoleum? Not to speak of Heavenly Saints, any cultivator always carries their most important treasures on them, and it's these most important treasures that are most likely to be found in their tombs after death. Thinking of this, all the experts present, even those in the late stages of the rotating pill realm, had fiery looks in their eyes. But whether this phenomenon was really emanating from the Heavenly Saint ancient tomb, no one dared to be certain. In my Heavenly Wind Kingdom, I've never heard of a fallen Heavenly Saint. Even in the great battle with the 10 demon sects of the Western Wasteland, the fallen Heavenly Saints were within other nations, and their bodies were taken away by the living Heavenly Saints long ago. All the Heavenly Saints that appeared in my Heavenly Wind Kingdom later went to other territories. Even those whose lifespans were about to end went to the Polar Star Archipelago and chaotic sea of the barbarian wilderness to seek their last opportunity. If this is really a Heavenly Saint ancient tomb, then which Heavenly Saint's resting place could it be? Countless strong warriors looked towards the 3 dark giant coffins. At this moment, 5 little flame figures had already discovered the huge azure stone twist disc beside the 3 dark giant coffins. One little flame figure went straight towards the huge twist disc and started to turn it. The Spirit Sea realm cultivator who had discovered the mysterious cave earlier had enveloped their entire body with the endless black aura from the giant twist disc, turning into smoke and triggering the heaven-shaking phenomenon of the cave. This time, however, as the little flame figure turned the giant twist disc, it didn't turn into smoke. Instead, as it twisted, the twist disc began to make a kacha 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 sound. This sound made everyone's nerves tense. Clearly, everyone realized that this huge twist disc was the method to open the giant coffin. When the twist disc had made a full turn, an endless rumbling sound suddenly erupted throughout the cave. Amidst the endless rumbling, the colossal void light pillar that had shot out from the cave and rose hundreds of feet into the sky above Demon Burial Abyss suddenly retracted. As all the light returned to the 3 giant coffins, the lids of these 3 huge dark coffins opened simultaneously, revealing 3 coffin mouths radiating endless light. The entrance to the ancient tomb. It really is an ancient tomb. All the cultivators' breathing tightened. Although they had never entered the Heavenly Saint ancient tomb, they had explored other ancient tombs and had read many ancient texts about tombs. The cultivators knew that an ancient tomb usually had multiple entrances. Most of these entrances are gates of death. Anyone who enters them falls into the deadly traps set by the tomb owner. You must not barge into the gates of death. Only one entrance is the true gate of life, where the tomb owner truly rests and where the real treasures are located. Although there may be numerous dangers inside the gate of life, according to the customs of the barbaric wilderness continent, any fallen cultivator would always leave a thread of chance for posterity, a rule that allows exploration of ancient tomb opportunities. As long as one does not trigger the untouchable areas of the tomb owner, entering the ancient tomb still offers a great opportunity to find treasures and to survive. Upon seeing infinite light emanating from the 3 giant coffins, and revealing the entrance to the ancient tomb. Everyone understood that one of these three entrances was the location of the Gate of Life leading into the ancient tomb. Investigate. Of course, they had to investigate which entrance was the Gate of Life and to what level the ancient tomb belonged. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Under the control of Taoist Chi Mei's divine sense, 3 of the 5 little flame figures flew into the 3 giant coffin entrances. As they flew in, the 3 little flame figures vanished from sight. A half incense stick of time later, amidst everyone's anxious waiting, the little flame figure that had flown into the entrance of the rightmost giant coffin suddenly came flying out, holding a white jade spirit plaque in its hand. The moment the little flame figure flew out, Taoist Chi Mei, who was using his divine sense to control the little flame figure, also suddenly opened his eyes, disbelief evident in his gaze. The rightmost one is the entrance to the ancient tomb. Fellow Taoists, this truly is the Heavenly Saint ancient tomb. It is actually Heavenly Saint Linghua's burial ground. What? As Taoist Chi Mei uttered the 4 words Heavenly Saint Linghua, many of the rotating Pill Realm strong warriors who knew of Heavenly Saint Linghua's name revealed an incredulous look, and the 2 late-stage rotating Pill Realm strong warriors from Cloud Sky Sect, Taoist Yunyang and Taoist Yunfang, even cried out in shock. Heavenly Saint Linghua was the very Heavenly Saint who, thousands of years ago, had cleaved open the demon burial abyss, a gorge hundreds of miles long, several miles wide, and unfathomably deep, in that earth-shattering battle thousands of years ago, for heavenly saints from across the 13 southern countries participated, with the 10 demon sects of the Western Wasteland deploying 3 heavenly saints. Among them, on the battlefield within the Heavenly Wind Kingdom, Heavenly Saint Linghua from Cloud Sky Sect and Heavenly Saint Moya from the Defying Demon Sect fought a battle so fierce that it split open even the demon burial abyss. After the battle, everyone failed to find traces of these 2 great heavenly saints, and even the other heavenly saints could not detect their presence. Everyone thought that these 2 had annihilated each other into ashes in their final cataclysmic clash. It is well known that a battle at the heavenly saint level easily results in both parties being reduced to ash. Because of that battle, Cloud Sky Sect and Defying Demon Sect, which were 4th-rank sects at the time, both fell to the status of 5th-rank sects. No one had expected that thousands of years later, in the demon burial abyss, cleaved open by the hands of these 2 great heavenly saints, the ancient tomb of Heavenly Saint Linghua would be discovered. This, of course, shocked countless cultivators incredibly. This, of course, made the 2 late-stage rotating Pill Realm strong warriors from Heavenly Saint Linghua's sect, Cloud Sky Sect, cry out in astonishment. Heavenly Saint Linghua, a supreme genius of my Heavenly Wind Kingdom years ago, a heavenly saint well known for his good nature. He actually didn't turn into ashes in the battle against Heavenly Saint Moya that year. He lived on and even left behind an ancient tomb. He must have been severely injured that year, and since there were other heavenly saints present on the battlefield, he couldn't show himself again, so he hid within the demon burial abyss. Good heavens! This is a great opportunity for our Heavenly Wind Kingdom. Although Heavenly Saint Linghua eventually fell, he must have left a great opportunity for the younger generation of our country. Our Heavenly Wind Kingdom hasn't produced a heavenly saint for a long time. Could this be an opportunity for our country? All the cultivators in the rotating Pill Realm held their breath in anticipation. When 2 of the small flame figures died in the Gate of Death, and the remaining 3 emerged from the Gate of Life carrying the white jade spirit plaque, Taoist Yunyang of the Cloud Sky Sect immediately fixed his gaze on this white jade spirit plaque. Once Taoist Chi Mei recaptured the small flame figures and handed the white jade spirit plaque to Taoist Yunyang, who inspected it, he was greatly moved. This spirit plaque, it truly belongs to the Heavenly Saint Linghua from our sect. Another member of the Cloud Sky Sect, Taoist Yunfang, also examined it and nodded in shock. With both powerhouses from the Cloud Sky Sect confirming this item, it seemed that this really was the site of Heavenly Saint Linghua's ancient tomb. Quick! See if there are any rules for entering the tomb recorded on this spirit plaque. Since the ancient tomb was left by Heavenly Saint Linghua, he must have left many treasures for the cultivators of our Heavenly Wind Kingdom. Hearing that it was truly the Heavenly Saint ancient tomb, countless rotating pill realm powerhouses were overjoyed. At that moment, Yun Yang began to examine the spirit plaque with his divine sense, holding it against his forehead. After a thorough investigation, he furrowed his brow and passed the spirit plaque to several other strong individuals. Eventually, all 6 powerhouses in the sky had examined the spirit plaque, and all of them furrowed their brows. Furrowed brows? Could there be some difficulty with the rules for entering the tomb inscribed on the spirit plaque? Seeing the 6 powerhouses all with furrowed brows, everyone became curious. Finally, Fairy Jialuo spoke up. Just like other heavenly saints, Heavenly Saint Linghua's tomb only opens for certain individuals. Fairy Jialuo's words made the other rotating pill realm powerhouses anxious. Jialuo, what exactly does the spirit plaque say about the rules for entering the tomb? All ancient tombs have rules for entry, which are the sole demands of the tomb's master. To enter the tomb, one must of course follow these rules. It seems that Heavenly Saint Linghua's rules for tomb entry determine the selection of those who may enter? Fairy Jia Luo slowly said, the spirit plaque left by Heavenly Saint Linghua states clearly that only people in the spirit sea realm may enter his ancient tomb. Upon hearing Fairy Jia Luo's words, all rotating pill realm powerhouses realized why the 6 earlier powerhouses had all furrowed their brows. The Heavenly Saint Ancient Tomb, not to mention its appeal to those in the True Chi realm and Spirit Sea realm, of course held a great attraction for rotating pill realm powerhouses as well. To think the tomb's rules prohibit those in the rotating pill realm from entering, preventing them from personally searching for its treasures. This naturally caused the rotating pill realm powerhouses to frown. While the rotating pill realm powerhouses frowned, the disciples in the True Chi realm showed expressions of disappointment, as it was obvious the tomb was now irrelevant to them. However, the Spirit Sea realm disciples, upon hearing the rule, showed excited expressions. Although these Spirit Sea realm disciples knew that, even if only they could enter the ancient tomb, most of the treasures found would likely end up in the hands of the rotating pill realm powerhouses. Just being able to enter the tomb meant they had a chance at obtaining benefits. Such an opportunity falling into their laps was naturally cause for excitement. If the rotating pill realm powerhouses could enter the tomb, then they wouldn't even dare dream of receiving any benefits. In the end, the 6 powerhouses holding the tomb's spirit plaque began to coordinate arrangements for entering the ancient tomb. Even if they couldn't enter the tomb themselves, they still needed to control the entrance to the tomb. Deciding who could enter was obviously within their power to dictate. Ultimately, the 6 powerhouses agreed that the Spirit Sea realm individuals eligible to enter the tomb would be selected from the various major sects. The 3 major 5th-grade sects of the Heavenly Wind Kingdom, the Cloud Sky sect, the Moon Concealing sect, and the Flame sect, would each have 30 spots. The Taishan sect, among the 10 major 6th-grade sects, would each be able to choose 10 disciples to enter the tomb. As for the 43 7th-grade sects, each sect was only allotted 3 spots. The 7th grade and lower sects, the 8th grade sects, didn't even possess the qualifications to enter the tomb. Taoist Winesword, an independent cultivator like the 5th grade sects, was also permitted to allow 30 Spirit Sea realm independent cultivators to enter the tomb. In the end, the number of people who could enter the tomb was set at 349. The agreed-upon distribution of treasures was that any treasure found by a sect disciple allowed that sect's rotating pill realm powerhouses to take half for their own distribution, with the other half left to the disciple who found it. Independent cultivators who found treasures would, of course, need to share with Taoist Winesword. As for who would obtain the most important law relic, they would have the opportunity to study the law relic together with the 6 major powerhouses. The law relic, of course, was not something the 6 powerhouses would allow to fall into the hands of others. The 6 major powerhouses continued making arrangements to enter the Heavenly Saint Ancient Tomb. But what no one knew was that, including the Spirit Sea realm disciple who had touched the huge twist disc and turned into smoke the day before, over the past few thousand years, a total of 100 people had inadvertently entered this cave, and all had turned to smoke upon touching the huge twist disc. It was the death of these 100 individuals that had triggered the astonishing phenomena of the ancient tomb's unveiling. If these facts were known, all powerhouses familiar with the name of Heavenly Saint Linghua would hesitate. For Heavenly Saint Linghua was known for his great kindness within the Heavenly Wind Kingdom. How could his tomb have possibly caused the death of 100 people just to open? Was this ancient tomb truly a great opportunity for the Heavenly Wind Kingdom? Or was it, perhaps, a hidden catastrophe waiting to unfold? Chapter 178 Half-Step Spiral Pill. The oddities of the ancient tomb were, of course, unknown to the rotating pill realm powerhouses. Armed with the Heavenly Saint Linghua's jade token, all the strong cultivators were determined to seize this grand opportunity. Although they couldn't enter the tomb directly with their rotating pill realm cultivation, they would definitely select their most valued disciples to enter the tomb on their behalf. The 6 powerhouses' arrangements met no objections, as the sects of the 7th, 6th, and 5th ranks, where rotating pill realm powerhouses resided, all had the chance to be allocated treasures. And the true Qi realm cultivators from the 8th rank sects, who were not given the chance to enter the tomb, could only comply with the arrangements under such a major trend, not daring to oppose in the least. After all, this was a significant event valued by all rotating pill realm powerhouses in the Heavenly Wind Kingdom. They wouldn't dare show any disrespect, just as their matters were not for true Qi realm disciples to interfere with. What the rotating pill realm powerhouses had decided, these Spirit Sea realm individuals certainly didn't dare to meddle with. Once all arrangements were made, the 6 powerhouses entered the entrance of the ancient tomb together, and jointly cast their cultivation techniques to completely seal it, leaving behind a divine sense seal to protect it. Then, they jointly announced that there would be a month's time to summon and select those who would enter the tomb, and after that month, the adventure into the Heavenly Saint Ancient Tomb would officially commence. After all the arrangements were completed, hundreds of rotating pill realm powerhouses returned to their sects to prepare for the big event of entering the Heavenly Saint Ancient Tomb after a month. The selection of individuals to enter the tomb was related to the distribution of their benefits, which they of course treated with the utmost seriousness. The major event of the Heavenly Saint Ancient Tomb being hidden within the burial demon abyss stirred up great waves throughout the entire Heavenly Wind Kingdom as rotating pill realm powerhouses returned to their sects to select the Spirit Sea realm disciples who would enter the tomb. All sects, and even unaffiliated cultivators, were paying attention to this significant event. The 3 major 5th rank sects, along with the Drunken Sword Immortal, each had 30 quota spots, and among these sects and the unaffiliated cultivators, there were more than enough powerful Spirit Sea realm cultivators, making the selection fiercely competitive. Some sects held selection competitions, while others had their powerhouses directly appoint those who would enter the tomb. Everyone was preparing for the entrance to the Heavenly Saint Ancient Tomb a month later, and these selections would be finalized then. After Taishan sects rotating pill realm powerhouses like Fairy Jialuo returned to the sect, they also began discussing the arrangements for the quotas to enter the Heavenly Saint Ancient Tomb. As a 6th rank sect, Taishan sect had 10 spots to enter the tomb, far fewer than the 5th rank sects. Accordingly, the chances of obtaining treasures from the Heavenly Saint Ancient Tomb would also be much less. In the end, the powerhouses of Taishan sect decided to determine the entrance based on the spirit rankings. Those who made it to the top 10 of the spirit rankings before entering the tomb would receive Taishan sect's 10 spots. After all, the higher the ranking on the spirit board, the stronger the cultivation, increasing the likelihood of competing with disciples from other sects in the Heavenly Saint Ancient Tomb and seizing treasures. When the news spread throughout Taishan sect, all the true inheritance disciples began a frantic rush for the spirit rankings. Taishan sect's spirit rankings were based on true transmission points. The acquisition of true transmission points could be achieved in various ways. Executing various sect tasks, earning true transmission points through trials in the sect's 3 major trial grounds, or challenging other true inheritance disciples to seize their points, all of which could increase one's own points and rank on the spirit board. True inheritance disciples from the 8 great inner peaks, intent on surging up the spirit rankings, flooded the various trial grounds, undertaking numerous sect tasks, and even the true inheritance battle platform for disciple challenges became overcrowded. The rankings on Taishan sect's true inheritance spirit board shifted constantly. Everyone was watching the spirit rankings, eager to see which 10 individuals would ultimately earn the right to enter the Heavenly Saint Ancient Tomb. After the regulations for Taishinsect's 10 entrants to the Heavenly Saint Ancient Tomb were established, Fairy Jia Luo returned to Snowdrift Peak. Once back at Snowdrift Peak, she summoned Jiang Yao to the Snowdrift residence at the peak's summit, and Yichun accompanied Jiang Yao inside Snowdrift residence. When Yichun and Jiang Yao heard about the Heavenly Saint Ancient Tomb, both were taken aback. They had both entered the relics of the Heavenly Saint previously. The Thousand Lotus Cave abode where they met was part of the Heavenly Saint's relics, but neither had ever entered the Heavenly Saint Ancient Tomb. The tomb bearing the Heavenly Saint realm powerhouses was indeed a major event in the Heavenly Wind Kingdom. Master Yaoer will surely enter the tomb and strive to seize that Luo relic for you, said Jiang Yao firmly to Fairy Jia Luo, after hearing about the immensely important Luo relic in the tomb, accessible only to Spirit Sea realm powerhouses. Watching Jiang Yao's earnest little face, Fairy Jia Luo stroked her head. Yaoer, I called you here not for that Luo relic. You have cultivated the bloodline secret technique to the second layer and can now overpower late-stage Spirit Sea powerhouses, but you are still not on par with those half-step rotating pill disciples. Our Taishan sect only has 2 half-step rotating pill disciples, but there are quite a few in those 3 major 5th-rank sections. In the end, it's likely that those half-step rotating pill disciples will seize that Luo relic. Yaoer, remember, this Heavenly Saint Ancient Tomb is not only highly beneficial for rotating pill realm powerhouses, but also precious to Spirit Sea realm cultivators. After entering, you don't need to compete with those half-step rotating pill disciples for the Luo relic. Just find opportunities that suit you, she added. Chapter 179 Half-Step Rotating Pill _2. In this Heavenly Saint Ancient Tomb, all the great sects from the Heavenly Wind Kingdom have sent their disciples to enter, and the underlying currents here are turbulent. I am confident in your strength, but you must also be extremely careful. The opportunity to enter the Heavenly Saint Ancient Tomb was something Fairy Jia Luo, of course, would not let Jiang Yao miss, and with Jiang Yao's strength, securing a spot in the top 10 of the Taishin Sect's spirit ranking was practically guaranteed. Fairy Jia Luo carefully instructed Jiang Yao, but did not say much to Yichun, who was next to her. After all, although Yichun's strength was incredibly powerful, his cultivation level was only the 11th layer of the True Qi realm, which had not yet stepped into the Spirit Sea realm, rendering him unqualified to enter the Heavenly Saint Ancient Tomb. Fairy Jia Luo did not believe that Yichun could break through to the Spirit Sea realm in just 1 month, and the matter of entering the Ancient Tomb hadn't crossed her mind regarding Yichun at all. This was also why she had only called for Jiang Yao. Yichun, who was standing to the side, suddenly spoke up. Sect leader, what exactly is the half-step rotating pill realm? When Yichun had walked with Jiang Yao within the Taishan sect, he had seen the Taishan sect's spirit ranking, where Jin Liang, who was at the top of the ranking at the time, had reached the half-step rotating pill realm. Yichun had heard of the Spirit Sea realm and the rotating pill realm but had never heard of half-step rotating pill, and at that time he had wondered what the half-step rotating pill was. Although it was strange, immersed in his training within sword formations at that time, he had not paid attention to the concept of the half-step rotating pill. Now, hearing Fairy Jia Luo mention that even Jiang Yao was no match for those disciples in the half-step rotating pill realm and fearing Jiang Yao might enter the Heavenly Saint Ancient Tomb alone, Yichun was worried. This Heavenly Saint Ancient Tomb was different from the Thousand Lotus Cave abode and the ancestral secret realm he once entered. Entry into the Thousand Lotus Cave abode was an opportunity for only a select few who could enter, and even that was after long intervals, whereas the ancestral secret realm was a unique opportunity for the 3 clans, where discord was naturally not expected among the disciples of the clans who entered. But the Heavenly Saint Ancient Tomb was different. This Heavenly Saint Ancient Tomb involved the relics of the Heavenly Saints and the Luo relics, coveted even by those past the later stages of the rotating pill realm. Disciples from 5-rank and 6-rank great sects all entered, and one could imagine how terrifying the strife and slaughter inside must be without thinking. It was even possible that one could die at the hands of other sects' disciples after obtaining treasures. Letting Jiang Yao face such danger alone naturally made Yichun uneasy, and of course, he wanted to make things clear. Fairy Jia Luo looked at Yichun, smiled, and spoke. Yichun, your strength is also about to touch the half-step rotating pill level. Let me explain these things to you. You already know about the true Qi realm and the spirit Sea realm. The true Qi realm involves taking in the true Qi of the heavens and earth into the Qi Sea, while the spirit Sea realm involves turning the Qi Sea into a spirit sea, transforming gaseous true Qi into liquid true Qi, spiritual liquid. Yichen nodded. He, of course, understood all of this now. Fairy Jialuo continued. Upon stepping into the spirit Sea realm, there are 2 expansions of the spirit sea. With each expansion, one can advance a substage within the spirit sea realm. The first expansion moves one from the early spirit sea stage to the middle spirit sea stage, and the second expansion moves one from the middle spirit sea stage to the late spirit sea stage. After stepping into the late spirit sea stage and filling the spirit sea with spiritual liquid, preparations must begin for the assault on the rotating pill realm. To charge into the rotating pill realm from the spirit sea realm, one must meet 2 conditions. The first is for all the liquid spiritual liquid within the spirit sea to condense into a solid true Qi rotating pill, and the second is for this solid rotating pill to draw down the metal, wood, water, fire, earth 5 heavenly void laws, integrating one or several of these heavenly void laws into the rotating pill. When the solid-state rotating pill is formed and infused with the heavenly void law, it then becomes a true law rotating pill, and you step into the rotating pill realm, becoming a powerful practitioner of the rotating pill realm. Metal, wood, water, fire, earth. The 5 major heavenly void laws are connected to all things between heaven and earth, and all things are born from these 5 major heavenly void laws. Once you step into the rotating pill realm and use the heavenly void laws integrated into your rotating pill, you can easily sense the subtleties of the 5 elements between heaven and earth and unleash unbelievable great divine powers. When I first entered the rotating pill realm, I merged the metal, fire, water 3 types of heavenly void laws. These 3 laws allowed me to easily sense the mysteries of metal, fire, water true Qi in the void, to perform void shuttles, and to comprehend the laws. As Fairy Jialuo spoke, a strange spiritual pattern flashed between her eyebrows. This spiritual pattern was a law spirit pattern, an outward manifestation of the law rotating pill within her body. I merged 3 types of laws. Some have merged 2 or even just 1, and there are those who have merged 4 or even 5 laws. However, no matter how many laws are merged, one must cultivate one of the 5 major heavenly void laws to great perfection in order to step into the heavenly saint realm. Currently, out of the metal, fire, water 3 great laws, only the metal law has reached the 3rd level, while the other 2 are still at the 2nd level, so there is still a long way to go before reaching the heavenly saint realm. Fairy Jialuo's words helped Yichen understand what the rotating pill realm and the heavenly saint realm were. It turns out that to reach the rotating pill realm, it's not only necessary to transform the liquid state true Qi spiritual liquid into a solid state true Qi rotating pill, but also to summon the descent of the 5 major heavenly void laws. Yichen had heard that laws are a force stronger than insights. He was still at the stage of comprehending insights, so understanding the laws was still very far away from him. No wonder it's said that the masters of the rotating pill realm are incomparably powerful. It's because they are associated with the descended heavenly laws. And the heavenly saint realm is even more terrifying, not only possessing descending heavenly laws but also cultivating the laws to great perfection. Such individuals can truly be called the supreme powerhouses of the heavenly saint realm. As Yichen pondered, Fairy Jialuo added, "You just asked, what is a half-step rotating pill?" A half-step rotating pill is when a practitioner in the later stages of the spirit sea realm fails to break through to the rotating pill realm, completing only one of the 2 critical steps. That is, they have already turned all the spiritual liquid in their body into a solid rotating pill, but did not successfully summon the heavenly void law, so the rotating pill did not integrate with any of the 5 major heavenly void laws. Such cultivators are referred to as half-step rotating pill practitioners. Everyone has only one chance to summon the descent of the 5 major heavenly void laws. Those who fail in their assault on the rotating pill realm as half-step rotating pill practitioners will no longer have the possibility of entering the rotating pill realm. However, their strength is not to be underestimated. When they turn all the liquid state spiritual liquid into a solid rotating pill, the myriad true Qi of heaven and earth will merge into the rotating pill at the same time, and their true Qi content will surge to unbelievable levels. definitely far surpassing that of a Spirit C late-stage cultivator. Moreover, having no chance to step into the rotating pill realm, they devote all their efforts to the practice of martial skills. Any person at half-step rotating pill stage has mastered incredibly powerful martial skills, and may even cultivate top-grade earth-level martial skills equivalent to the power of laws. So, Yichun Yaoer, even though the two of you are very powerful and can suppress even late-stage Spirit C realm practitioners, do not lightly provoke someone at the half-step rotating pill stage. Fairy Jialuo looked at Yichun and Zhang Yao, speaking earnestly. Chapter 180. The Astonishing Twins. Yichun and Zhang Yao nodded at the same time. Previously, Zhang Yao had some understanding of the half-step rotating pill. Now, hearing her master say such, she began to place even more importance on the masters of the half-step rotating pill. And Yichun finally understood that within the Spirit C realm, there existed such a special level as the half-step rotating pill. The amount of true qi in a half-step rotating pill master is incomparably strong. Perhaps only after I step into the Spirit C realm and further increase the quantity of Gangyuan true qi in my body, will I be able to contend with them in terms of true qi power, he thought. Moreover, the powerful martial skills they possess, some even being upper-grade earth-tier martial skills, are equivalent in power to a high-order sword formation. I have not even cultivated a high-order sword formation yet, so I definitely need to be extremely cautious, he reflected. However, I also have the 9 transformation fighting body, void instantaneous change, and flying sword-killing move. If I encounter them, I am not without means to respond, he reasoned. Yichun considered the gap between himself and a half-step rotating pill master. After Fairy Jialuo explained what a half-step rotating pill was, she smiled at Yichun and Zhang Yao, saying, "All right, the matter I wanted to tell you about is concerning the Heavenly Saint Ancient Tomb. Yaoer, in this month's time, further enhance your strength. When you enter the Heavenly Saint Ancient Tomb, be cautious in obtaining the opportunities meant for you," she advised. Yichun, although you cannot enter the tomb, you must not slacken. You have already been practicing the sword formation for over a month with your senior sister Yu. With more than 6 months until the Spirit C Realm Sword Fighting Conference, you must continue to work hard, she encouraged. As Fairy Jialuo spoke, Yichun suddenly interrupted, "Sect leader, I wish to enter the Heavenly Saint Ancient Tomb, with Zhang Yao this time." "Enter together?" Fairy Jialuo was taken aback by Yichun's words. "You're only at 11th level of true qi right now. You need to be in the Spirit C realm to qualify to enter the tomb. Do you think you can advance to the Spirit C realm within a month?" Zhang Yao's clear eyes also turned to Yichun. She was very willing to hear Yichun say he wanted to enter the Heavenly Saint Ancient Tomb with her, but like her master, she also worried that Yichun would not be able to step into the Spirit C realm in such a short time. After all, Yichun was still one whole cultivation level away from the Spirit C realm, and no one could guarantee a successful breakthrough from the True Qi realm to the Spirit C realm. Yichun looked at the girl beside him who was watching him with concern, gave a soft smile, and then turned to Fairy Jialuo. "Since there is still a month before entering the tomb, that's enough time for me to make a break for the Spirit C realm." Yichun had absolute confidence in stepping into the Spirit C realm because he had a rotating pill that could guarantee him a 100% chance of stepping into the Spirit C realm, which was even more miraculous than a top-grade quintessence Spirit Seed. All Yichun needed to do was break through to the 12th level of True Qi, then take the rotating pill, and he could make a breakthrough into the Spirit C realm to become a powerhouse of the Spirit C realm. In their time at Taishian's sect over the past month, Yichun and Zhang Yao had practiced the sword formation together, making great gains while also increasing their true qi every day. With 1 more month's time, he had absolute confidence he could reach the 12th level of true qi. He had not been in a hurry to rush into the Spirit Sea realm, but with the Heavenly Saint Ancient Tomb, he had to advance if he wanted to enter with Zhang Yao. The Spirit Sea realm was an imperative target now. Yichun planned to step into the Spirit Sea within this month. Seeing Yichun speak with full confidence that he could step into the Spirit Sea realm within a month, Zhang Yao's eyes sparkled with excitement. Yichun's strength, claiming a spot in the top 10 of the Taishan sect spirit rankings, was no difficulty. with the only thing missing being the requirement of the Spirit Sea realm. If Yi-chun truly could step into the Spirit Sea and enter the Heavenly Saint ancient tomb with her, that would be great. Thinking of this, the girl also became excited. Zhang Yao never doubted Yi-chun's words. She thought to herself, if Yi-chun said he could step into the Spirit Sea within a month, then he definitely could. Are you really confident that you can step into the Spirit Sea within a month? Fairy Jialuo looked at Yi-chun and smiled lightly upon seeing him nod again. If that's the case, then even better. You and Yer entering the Heavenly Saint ancient tomb together would be able to look after each other. Along with our sect's other 2 half-step rotating pill disciples, you will not be at too much of a disadvantage when competing with those disciples from the 5th grade sects, she stated. Yi-chun, I look forward to hearing the good news of you stepping into the Spirit Sea realm in a month, she expressed. When Yi-chun and Zhang Yao left Snowdrift residence at the peak of Snowdrift Peak, Zhang Yao took Yi-chun's hand, and her clear, beautiful eyes looked into his. Yi-chun, what do you plan to do next? Focus on true chi, or continue to train the sword formation with senior sister Yu? The spirit rankings, we need to make a push for them as well. I heard there have been major changes in the rankings recently, and we need to ensure we stay in the top 10, she highlighted. Looking at the girl's expectant gaze, Yi-chun gently pinched Zhang Yao's fair and tender cheek and said with a smile, let's continue to practice the sword formation with senior sister Yu. The remaining time should be enough to cultivate true chi. As for the spirit rankings, didn't they say we could quickly acquire true transmission points from the 3 major trial grounds? Let's make a specific effort to push for the rankings in the last few days, he planned. All right, Zhang Yao nodded her small head. Then we'll still focus on the sword formation. We're almost done with the 3rd sword formation, the Hidden Wind sword formation. We strive to move on to the 4th sword formation before entering the Heavenly Saint ancient tomb. As they talked, they made their way to the residence of senior sister Yu, located on the mountainside of Snowdrift Peak. In the following days, Yi-chun and Zhang Yao still trained for 6 hours a day in the sword formation at senior sister Yu's place, and the rest of the time, they started to focus mainly on cultivating true chi. Senior sister Yu, who was researching the 7th high-order sword formation, had no plans to enter the Heavenly Saint ancient tomb and was not specifically aiming to push for the true transmission rankings.